Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Download the Wendy's app today.
Here we are on a Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? Am I right? Is it Tuesday today?
It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. Okay, yeah, sounds good. It is Tuesday. Welcome in. Hope all is well. Charlie using over there. See Sparky Pfeiffer here. I got gypped out of doing an hour of the Mason Crosby show. Originally, I was supposed to fill in because Mitch had some stuff going on. It wasn't just for his 50th birthday. Some other stuff going on. And I was going to do noon at 2, so cool. So I get here this morning, me and Tommy playing out the show. Then I figure out our show with Charlie. So everything was done by like 10 o'clock, 10:30, something like that. It was pretty much done. All set. Good deal. So we come on the air. We're doing the show noon to 1. I'm looking forward to the 1 o'clock topics we have. And then Mitch and Ellis text, hey, yeah, I got back in time. I can do it from my house. If you're, and Mitch and Tommy goes, what do you think? I'm like, no, I'm doing the show. And then I was like, it's his birthday, dude. Don't be a jerk. I was like, all right, fine. If he wants to work, let him work. Fine.
Two things, though, Sparky. One, people need a little break from you. You know, they got to give that little hour to get away from you for a second.
Family would argue they need more than a little, but yeah.
And then two, I mean, for a guy that works as much as you do and has so much going on, to get like a free hour in the day, at least to do something else than what you planned, you got to appreciate that.
I worked on the staff schedule, and
there you go.
And that's what I worked on while he was doing the show. So that was fine, and he meant well. Like I heard him on the radio. I'm like, I figured he could go to Wendy's and get something to eat or whatever the case. So he meant
you
well.
didn't because you don't eat.
No, I didn't. But either way, all right. Coming up on today's show, we were supposed to have Tim Dillard. And during that 1 o'clock hour, Tim said he can't make it now. So no more Tim Dillard for 3:20. So we'll just have to reschedule and get him on a different time. Today's his anniversary. So happy anniversary, Tim Dillard, if you're listening. Gery Woelfel will join us. Woelfel's pressbox.com. He comes up at 2:20. Lots going on in the NBA. And I'm going to go to Charlie here to start things off because I want to get into talking about a couple of the trades that happened and whether or not the deals that are popping right now are actually going to help the Bucks or not here if they decide to move Giannis to the deadline. Again, the deadline Thursday, 2 o'clock, the NBA trade deadline. Now, a bunch of people seem to think the Bucks will never do this. They will not trade Giannis to the trade deadline. They will wait to the summer. I saw quotes from anonymous people on other NBA teams that said they would be nuts not to wait to the summer because so many more teams that will then have draft picks that they can throw in, which they do not have now. So most people seem to think that the wise thing to do is hold Giannis, don't trade him, make him play on a bad basketball team the rest of the year, let him deal with it, and then trade him essentially for a year rental or to a team that he would like to extend with going forward, and maybe you get more bang for your buck at that point. I want to first talk about the deal that I don't think has gigantic implications on the Milwaukee Bucks, which is that Pistons in Bulls deal that just went down within the last half hour or so. As we all know, Charlie is a big Bulls fan, Chicago Charlie. I like the deal for the Bulls, getting Jaden Ivey, a young guard who I like coming out of college and maybe hasn't lived up to expectations in Detroit, but there's some upside there.
There is. I like Jaden Ivey a lot, and I feel like he kind of got phased out of that Detroit rotation a little bit when they gave some other young players opportunities. I think the Bulls have space in that room because they have so much help already kind of in that front court area. Small forward, power forward, they like Josh Giddey for some reason. Matas Buzelis has his moments where he looks really good. This is a spot where I think Jaden Ivey can work with those players and fill in really well. And then they get Mike Conley, too, another veteran player to come into that locker room because it was kind of Vucevic versus the world for that team. So I think this does work out for them, and they move on from Kevin Huerter, a guy that they gave a contract that was kind of ill-advised, and then Dario Saric, who they just traded for, so they're moving on from him right away over to the Pistons. I think this is a good team or a good trade for both teams. The Pistons got a couple players that can help them out a little bit, a couple role players, and the Bulls got some player that has a bright future.
I don't think any of this matters necessarily to the Bucks and Giannis necessarily. At the end of the day, one way or the other. I mean, unless we're sitting here going, okay, now all of a sudden maybe the Pistons are going to get involved here and try and make a run at Giannis at that point. If maybe that's what they're thinking, But I just don't see that happening, right? I mean, Giannis and Cade Cunningham is fun, right? I mean, Duren would have to be involved. There's no way if you're the Bucks, you can potentially make a deal with the Pistons without taking back Duren in that deal.
But the same time, Duren just got named to the All-Star team. His value is going to rise a whole ton. He's been a huge part of why the Detroit Pistons have been the best team in the East so far this season. His rise as a player, I mean, it's just going to be really hard to get a player from a team like that.
Correct. But it does help Minnesota and their quest for the Bucks to make a deal with them with Giannis. Minnesota sees their luxury tax bill drop from $24 million to only $3.8 million. They're now under the first apron and $3.8 million above the tax. So it does put them in a better situation for them to pursue Giannis going forward here. So that was the second deal that got made. I feel like the first deal that got made this afternoon, in which the Memphis Grizzlies officially waved the white flag and said, we're done with this version of our roster. We are now going to blow this thing up and try and build it all over again in Memphis. Now, the first indicator that this may be happening was when they traded Desmond Bane to Charlie's second favorite team, the Orlando Magic, last year, that, okay, this may be occurring. What exactly did Memphis get for Desmond Bane back then?
So the Memphis Grizzlies got Cole Anthony, now a Milwaukee Buck, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, the number 16 overall pick, which they ended up trading to the Portland Trailblazers, which ended up being Young Hansen, 3 first-round picks, unprotected 2026, 2028, and 2030, and 2029 first-round pick swap. Two protected.
They got a bunch of picks, right? So that was the Desmond Bane deal. Okay, fine. You move on from Desmond Bane. Now the question was, okay, what is this team going to look like? Because you do have Zach Edey at center that you drafted, and you got some G.G. Jackson and some other guys on that team. So now comes the news today that Jaren Jackson, who is their second best player behind Ja Morant, he is on his way out of Memphis too.
He is. So the Memphis Grizzlies in that trade are moving on from Jaren Jackson Jr., like you said, and Jock Landale, John Conchar, and Vince Williams Jr. In return, they are receiving 3 first-round picks. Rookie guard Walter Clayton Jr., who has looked pretty good this season, for his Kyle Anderson, Taylor Hendricks, who has a really bright future, and Georges Niang. The picks that they are receiving are the Los Angeles Lakers 2027, the most favorable of the Jazz 2027 between Utah, Cleveland, Minnesota, and the Phoenix Suns 2031 unprotected.
Ton of picks. So yet again, they get some young players back and they get a lot of picks. That's not even Ja Morant. Now, already with that news, what comes next? Ja Morant's now, obviously, talks are intensifying because now everybody in the league realizes that, well, they're not keeping Ja Morant with all of that left in Memphis. Now, the question that I have is this: does that Jaren Jackson deal help or hurt this Bucks team when it comes to potentially trying to trade Giannis, whether it be now at the deadline or whether it be this summer, if that's the route they decide to go? Nikolai Law talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250 on the socials at WI Sports Radio, streaming live on X and on YouTube as always. Charlie, what say you?
I think this helps the Milwaukee Bucks. When looking at the value that Giannis should bring in, a guy who is most widely known as a top 3 player in the league right now, for like a Jaren Jackson Jr., when you compare it to him, a guy whose offensive ceiling has been shown, he hasn't been the same kind of defensive player he was since he won Defensive Player of the Year. They compare him a lot to an Evan Mobley who keeps taking steps forward, while Jaren Jackson Jr. has kind of plateaued as this player. I know they gave up a lot more too. I think that's the other thing. A lot of people are looking at this trade and saying, oh, wow, Jaren Jackson Jr. got all of this. They also trade 3 other players alongside him. Yes, not great players, but role players in the NBA right now. And in return, they got 2 really good young players that I think can be bright for their future, but also may not work out, along with 2 other guys who aren't really going to be a part of this future, and a few draft picks that I don't think, with all the protections, end up being as valuable as a lot of people think they could be in the long run. I think for Giannis, yes, this makes it look more like it can be a valuable trade. I think for the Bucks, it's going to, in the long term, help them out when they're looking to trade Giannis. At the same time, I think the value of this Jaren Jackson trade really has to be dove into by a lot of people that are criticizing it from the Jazz point of view, I think this is a situation where they made a good trade for their organization, and the Bucks have to try to find a team that fits perfectly in this, just like Memphis fit perfectly for Utah.
Absolutely right. And talking about Memphis and what they have right now, the Memphis Grizzlies, as they sit here today, currently, are absolutely loaded. 12 first-round picks in the next 7 years. That trails only the Brooklyn Nets and the Oklahoma City Thunder at this point. And there was talk before about the Brooklyn Nets potentially wanting Giannis and so forth. Then there was rumors floating around here in the last 24 to 48 hours about Giannis wanting to be the man. Then there was another rumor floating around that was deflating to Golden State Warrior fans of saying, I don't want to go to an old team, apparently. Apparently, he wants to go to a team that is younger, which would definitely kind of rule out Golden State here if that is what he is trying to do at the end of the day, or what his agents want him to do at the end of the day. Asking you, does the Jaren Jackson deal help or hurt the Bucks when it comes to potentially trading Giannis? Nikolai Law talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250 on the socials at WI Sports Radio. I think it obviously helps the Bucks. I think the Desmond Bane deal helps the Bucks. I think the Jaren Jackson deal helps the Bucks because obviously Giannis is better than both those dudes. So if that's the baseline for what you're going to get in return, what you get in return for Giannis has to be more than Jaren Jackson just got, right? I mean, you cannot take back less than what Memphis got for Jaren Jackson if you're John Horst and Bucks ownership at this point. It has to be more than that.
You would think so, but I think the other thing that a lot of these teams are arguing in Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson's defense is that they're just younger. They potentially have brighter futures than Giannis, whereas a lot of teams are looking at Giannis's recent injury history and what's happening with his kind of emotions later on in his Bucks career and say he's on this downward turn versus these guys that could potentially be on the rise.
The other thing Jackson has going for him is he signed to a long-term deal. So you get Jackson back in Utah and you've got him under contract for literally the next 3 seasons, right? He turns 27 in the 26-27 season at $49 million cap hit. Then the 27-28 season, the 28-29 season, it's at 50 and 52 million. And then in the 29-30 season, he has a player option. So the Utah Jazz aren't trading for a rental, like essentially might be happening for Giannis here if he doesn't want to sign a long-term extension. And all of this talk about the Miami Heat and what it would take for the Miami Heat to pull this off is something else to be considered too, because again, as we've talked about, Bam Adebayo and Giannis have the exact same agent. So that agent pulling the power move of, nope, I want him to go to Miami, figure it out one way or the other. Similar to how Damian Lillard's agent and so forth wanted to get him to Miami, and Utah said, nope, it'll be the best available deal. Thank you. And then did just that and traded him to Milwaukee and didn't trade him to Miami like he wanted to go. Would the Bucks do something similar here if there is a preferred destination and turn to Giannis and go, that's cool and all, but these guys are going to give us way more than anybody else at this point, so out you go. I just think if you're a team trading for Giannis, and if it is a rental, if you do it now, you get him a year and a half. If you do it in the summer, it's only a year. The haul that you would have to give up, I think, would be significantly less if Giannis goes, I'll come and play, but I'm not signing an extension. I don't want to play in Minnesota for the rest of my career. I don't want to play in Minnesota the next 4 or 5 years. That is something else to be considered as well. Chris in Muskego, you're next on the Nikolai Law Talking text line on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. What's up, Chris?
Hey, Sparky. I totally agree with you on let's wait till the summer. I don't care about anything that it's going forward, what they're talking about now. What I would like to see them do is maybe move anybody else that's on this roster between now and then and clear as much space as you can.
Correct.
But you're going to disagree with me. I want Doc Rivers gone. He can't, I don't care what you say or anybody says. He is not a coach for young guys.
Chris.
Now, let me ask you a question, Sparky.
Yeah.
Who would you rather have, Horst or your buddy before him, Hammonds, that wound up going to Orlando than Miami? Which one would you rather have? Because this guy hasn't drafted anybody that's ever done nothing in the league.
With all due respect, John Hammond never had what John Horst had. John Hammond had lottery picks every year to draft from. John Horst has not had that same luxury. I don't know if it's a luxury, but he's not been in the lottery every year like John Hammond was. Thanks for the call, Chris. With all due respect, I love John Hammond. I do. I love the Brandon Jennings pick. Did it work? The Larry Sanders pick, I hated. Did that work? The John Henson pick, did that work? I mean, we can go through a lot of his first round picks that didn't work. Obviously, and those are lottery picks. Obviously, he'll be remembered for Giannis. Absolutely. And if you're saying, who would you rather have? Yeah, I'd rather have John Hammond every day of the week, right? No doubt I'd take John Hammond over John Horst. The Doc Rivers thing, listen, maybe I'll be wrong, but I'm telling you right now, if they blow this up, I just don't see why he'd come back and coach a 15-win team. How is that fun for a guy his age? Wouldn't you just retire, get a new deal in TV, and go back in the TV booth and be done? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. He doesn't, and I know you can never have too much money. Everybody wants more. Okay, fine. But at some point, you have to determine how happy it makes you feel. What he's got going on, this cannot be a happy scenario for Doc Rivers every day.
No, and he can make money by going back to TV. He can make money doing literally anything else he wants because he's a championship winning head coach. Yep. That is just a moneymaker for the rest of his life.
They'd pay him a ton of money to do a weekly podcast. Right,
exactly. Yes. Hang out with Marcus Johnson and do a podcast with him or something. Like, just do that.
Exactly. Joining us now is Trell on the north side of Milwaukee. You're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. What's up, Trell?
Hey, Sparky, how you doing?
We're hanging in there, just waiting for Thursday.
Yeah, me too. I think we're going to be. I think Bucks fans are going to be upset if we're gauging what we should get for Giannis compared to the Baines, the Mikal Bridges, and the Jaren Jackson Jr. Because I think every trade scenario is totally different. For instance, with those guys, another thing, their contract situation.
Yeah, I brought that up with Jaren Jackson. He's got 3 years left plus a player option, and he's younger. Yeah. He's 20. He'll be 27 next year.
And right now there's some semblance of a smear campaign going around with Giannis, with everybody bringing up these calf injuries and trying to make it seem like, he's you don't want to invest too much because this guy probably going to have a major injury, type of thing. So
that is the worst case scenario for the Bucks. If they don't trade him and he blows an Achilles and misses all of next year, they get nothing.
They get nothing, and that's why I want him traded by a deadline. That's one of the reasons. Another reason is, Sparky, if they try to keep him because they think they got greater passions in the summer, you got to think this guy's got 1 year left on his deal. You can't trade him anywhere that he's not willing to sign a contract extension and get something of value for him. So he can screw the Bucks and tell them, I only want to get traded to New York.
Well, Lillard tried that in Portland, and they still traded him to Milwaukee. So, I mean, they keep.
Yeah, but we got to think though. Lillard had years on his deal though.
Yeah, but
Giannis, that's the thing, Sparky. Like, if Giannis had 3 more guaranteed years, teams would still trade for him regardless of that. He only has 1 guaranteed year left. It's totally different than Lillard.
All right, thanks for the call, Trell. I got to roll, man, up against a break. Coming up next, Gery Woelfel, WoelfelsPressBox.com, talking more about the Bucks and what he's hearing on his side of the world. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back, Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy. Steve Sparky Fifer with you. Joining us now, you can see him on X and on YouTube as we stream live at WI Sports Radio. Follow him on X at Gery Woelfel. Gery,
I am doing well, Mr. Pfeiffer, and how are you?
Doing fine, doing good. You were just, you do everything, obviously, but you were just down in the Senior Bowl doing some college football stuff, getting ready for the draft, right?
Yeah, I was trying to help the Packers find a defensive cornerback, and there's some good ones available in the second round, so we'll see if they heed my advice.
We'll see what they end up doing there. That'll be fun to see. Okay, let's talk about the NBA and the trade deadline obviously coming up. Always a busy time of year. You already see the Desmond Bane got traded last year from Memphis. Now Memphis officially raises the white flag and said we're officially done with Jaren Jackson Jr. getting dealt. Talk of Ja Morant possibly being dealt next. Are the Bucks in a situation right now to where it's essentially going to be stand pat with what they have without going out and trying to add anybody to this, or essentially blowing it up by moving Giannis and whatever else comes along with it? Where are they standing right now?
I think it's still up in the air, but I tweeted this out actually the other day. They have three majority owners, and a lot of people think they only have two, but they actually have three. And what I was told from a pretty good source was that those three owners weren't on the same page, and until they get on the same page, nothing's going to happen. Although Wes Edens, could use this clout as governor and, make a final decision on that. So,
that's the thing, though. And I've talked about this in the past when Lazary was here, when Peter Fagan was here and all of that. This has really never been John Horst's team. This has been the ownership with John Horst making all of these decisions. So people want to go at John about different things, or people want to give credit to John for different things. But really, it's kind of been one team, one dream as far as what they've been able to do over the last several years.
Oh, you're absolutely correct. I'll give you a classic example. Wes Edens, I was told again by several people, went out and hired Doc Rivers. He didn't say, let me consult with John Horst. He just did it. And I go back to the days of Herb Cole. I don't know if I ever told you the story or not, Steve, but I asked him because he said he never meddled at the time.
Which was a lie. I used to rip Cole nonstop about that nonsense. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, and I said to him, I had a one-on-one interview which went for an hour and a half, and we talked about everything under the sun. But I said to him, did you ever, make a deal yourself, like I was telling you with Edens and Rivers? And he goes, no. And then he pauses. He goes, well, actually, there was a time. And he knew the owner from the San Antonio Spurs.
Yep.
And they acquired Larry Kristoviak, who turned out to be a really good player until Bill Laimbeer cheap shotted him going to the lane and blew out his knee. But Herb admitted that, he got together with the owners and they cut a deal.
Yeah, I've heard so many stories about guys that he wanted in the draft. The Bucks personnel wanted somebody else, like the tractor trailer deal. I had heard personnel wanted Paul Pierce or somebody else. Herb was in love with tractor trailer, so they went with tractor trailer at that pick instead. I've heard so many things over the years. It's not all that surprising. At least with this deal here, it's a little bit more upfront. And it kind of has been that way this whole time. As far as I think those guys being involved, and even John Horst says and has said time and time again, like everybody's got to be on the same page. We all have to be kind of pushing in the same direction at the end of the day. And this is a franchise changing decision, and they cannot get this wrong, Gery.
You are 100% correct as usual. I thought this the other day. Well, actually, I thought of it on multiple occasions. This is the biggest trade maybe in franchise history. The only one would be, Lou Alcindor / Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But that was when Wayne Embry was the general manager. Wayne Embry had been in the NBA for years, knew basketball better than anyone I maybe ever met. And I had complete confidence even then as a young guy that Wayne Embry was going to make the right call, and he did. I don't know about this situation. This is going to be very, very intriguing.
So let's talk about that for a second. In your mind, what do you think is best case scenario? You don't have to give me names, but as far as the package they get back, is it all about, 5 first-round picks they got to get in a couple of young guys, or what is it for you where you're like, okay, they did well?
I don't know if you heard this or not, but the Bucks gave serious consideration to trading Giannis after last season. And what I was told at that time was they wanted a combination, which they still want today, a couple young players and several draft picks, and nothing's changed. But, they were going to go that route right away after last season. Then they did a 180 and decided, hey, we're going to become more athletic, put more shooters around him. They went out and got Turner, and we know how that's turned out. So.
Yeah, it's turned out horribly. Talking with Gery Woelfel, WoelfelsPressBox.com. Follow him on X at Gery Woelfel. You also brought up on X the other day about Miles Turner and his future potentially in Milwaukee here with this trade deadline.
He's played more like Tina Turner this season than he has in the past. I mean, I was talking to a couple of NBA guys the other day about this. The guy's been a major disappointment. He's paid, $27 million this season. And spoke to an NBA executive this morning, and he said if they go the route and trade him, they'll probably get a mid to most likely late first-round pick.
Done. I do it. Done. Sold. I'm in.
Yeah. And you know what? And there's teams out there, good teams that have picks in that area in the 20 to 30 range. So, you know what? If you're going to blow it up, blow it up.
Blow it up. Clear that salary caps. Clear that salary off your books for the next several years.
Absolutely. And, if you get it, and the thing about this, Steve, this is a really good draft, maybe one of the best drafts they've had in years. I mean, the top 10, 15 guys, they're all going to be impact players right off the bat. They're going to make a contribution. And those first 4, I mean, they're unbelievably good. So.
I watched Peterson play last night for Kansas, and I turned it on at halftime, and I'm on my couch and I'm doing work. And I'm watching the game, and I'm watching the second half. I'm like, dude, this dude ain't done look all that good to me. Like, I'm just watching him struggling against Texas Tech. It's a good team, top 25 team. And I'm watching. I was like, okay, we'll see. And then at the end, he hits back-to-back threes to win the game for him, and comes up big when they needed him to come up big at the end of the day. The one thing about him is, just to kind of sidetrack us a little bit, if we talk about athleticism and first step and that type of stuff, it doesn't appear like he's elite in that level whatsoever. But where his strong point is shooting the basketball from wherever you want him on the court, and then figuring out ways to be creative for others.
Absolutely. I mean, between Peterson and Dibanza, I'm telling you, both those guys will come in and be stars right away, or darn close to being stars. They're that good. And, you talk about Boozer, you talk about the kid in North Carolina, they're going to come in and start right away. So, what I think Horst should do is just say, hey, I'm going to trade them to one team, and then the NBA is going to come in and say, as a reward, you get the number 1 pick in the draft.
That doesn't happen for Milwaukee. You're joking yourself.
Just like the Mavericks. Isn't it amazing?
I mean, that's not even going to happen, though, because Atlanta's got that pick swap, right? So you get your pick, and then the Pelicans get their pick, and then you get, the worst of the two. I mean, best case scenario for the Bucks, if they can't make a deal with Atlanta, because that's the dream scenario, you go make the deal with Atlanta and get that pick back so you could have essentially 2 in the top 3 or 2 in the top 5. That's really what makes this works the best.
I can tell you that's not happening. So you can wish all you want.
All right, well, fine. Just ruin my dream. But my point of it is,
it's great talking to you, by the way.
Yes. But Bucks and Pelicans, I mean, they both have a chance to essentially have top 5 picks. So even if, let's say, the Bucks win the lottery and the Hawks take 1, the Pelicans could very well be in the top 3 or top 5, and the Bucks could still end up with a top 3 or top 5 pick at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw my tweet I put out about an hour or 2 ago, and it listed 5 teams I thought that the Bucks should have some serious conversations with, and one was the Pelicans. And last year at the pre-draft camp in Chicago, there was a lot of buzz that the Bucks loved Jeremy Fears, and I talked to other sources. They said the same thing, and the Bucks had absolutely no chance of getting him, of course. And the only way they would have got him is a trade. I threw this out this morning in my tweet. What if you put Jeremy Fears and Trey Murphy in a package plus the draft pick and other considerations, because Giannis' contract is $54 million. So you got to get it in the ballpark of that $54 million. So there's other players coming back, but Trey Murphy and Fears alone, I think, would be a pretty decent package with some other guys. But if you can get that top pick, my goodness, you got to go.
Yeah, but you can, because Atlanta owns that pick swap, so it's absolutely pointless at the end of the day because they own the pick swap. So you got to get the pick swap back from Atlanta. That's the only way this is going to work. I think at the end of the day,
Atlanta's not going to do it.
Correct, right? So you're stuck. So you're going to have the worst of the two picks. The other part about this is what's more important? Are the picks more important, or is the good young talent more important at the end of the day?
Well, you know what? That's another team I had on there was the Spurs, and I'm a huge Dylan Harper fan. I'm a huge Castle fan. They got 4 good guards, Steve, and they're in a position to give up 2 of them. And if I'm Milwaukee, I'll say, hey, I'll take Harper off your hands. I'll take Castle off your hands. The Bucks could have potentially one of the most dynamic backcourts going forward. And then on top of that, the Spurs have a potential lottery pick via Atlanta, right? So you want picks. Can you imagine, though, if Giannis teamed up with Wembanyama and Fox?
Yeah,
it's over.
If I'm San Antonio, I'm not making that deal. Like, you have enough young talent around him. You have all these future picks as well. I'm not making that deal. If I'm Oklahoma City Thunder, I already won a championship. I'm not making a deal either. I mean, odds are they're going to be stuck playing with or making a deal with either the Miami Heat, the Timberwolves, the Warriors.
No. Absolutely not. None of those guys have good young talent too.
Agreed. Yes, I agree with you. Yes, but I think that's all they're going to be able to play with here when you get to the trade deadline.
Well, I think there's going to be other options, but why put yourself into a corner with Golden State? Who does Golden State have to offer? I was talking to a guy today about Kuminga. Everybody's making this big deal about Kuminga. Kuminga is an average player, and he could be a big bust if he came to Milwaukee. That's their best player. Minnesota, who do they have outside of Anthony Edwards? Miami has 0 in my mind. I wouldn't want any of those guys back. So
It's going to be fun to see how this all plays out. Hopefully they go the other way, right? They make a big move for Ja Morant. Then they take their 3-1s in the summer. Then you get another star player. And then you push ahead Gery Woelfel with 3 stars and go win a title next year. That's how we fix this bad boy. Gery, thank you so much for
my best friend to have Ja Morant on that team. I'm telling you now. He's a hell of a talent, but I don't want him on my team. There's a reason Memphis is shopping him.
Yeah, he's going somewhere. Follow Gery on X at Gery Woelfel, WoelfelsPressBox.com. Thank you so much, Gery.
Always a pleasure, Steve. Take care.
There he is, Gery Woelfel on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call. That is all. All right, I can switch gears from the Milwaukee Bucks to the Milwaukee Brewers coming up on the other side. And don't forget, Potawatomi Sportsbook, baby. That's where you're going to want to be. Whether it's witnessing a walk-off grand slam, game-winning touchdown, buzzer-beating 3, you know the feeling. And there's only one place to experience that raw exhilaration. Potawatomi Sportsbook. Get all the action in supreme space with dozens of sports betting kiosks, cool drinks, luxury seating, great food, fiery atmosphere, and a monster video wall. Only at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. More info at Potawatomi.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino. And don't forget, reserve your seats now for the game coming up on Sunday. There is a fee that goes along with it, obviously. Plus, they're going to have the Annex open. You can go watch the game in there. They have tickets available there, too. All you got to do is go to Potawatomi.com, go to the sportsbook page, and you are all set. There's not going to be a better spot anywhere in the state than the Potawatomi Sportsbook to go watch that game. I promise you, there's nowhere better to go in the state of Wisconsin and probably the state of Illinois and probably the Midwest if we take it outside of that. I don't think there's a sportsbook anywhere close to that, or a space that has a 2,000 square foot television center, two levels, 48 beers on tap, dozen different specialty cocktails. The food is unmatched at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Again, the fee you're going to pay to reserve your seat ahead of time, you're going to spend in food and drink anyhow. So really, it's not costing anything at the end of the day. Charlie Houston over there, Steve Sparky Pfeiffer here. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Welcome in. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy. See Sparky Five with you. Charlie using as well. Coming up tomorrow, Hot Stove Weekly with the franchise Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz from 5 until 7 o'clock. Jake Bowers, Tommy Wirtz's man crush, will join the show at 5:30 tomorrow night. Andrew Vaughn, the Brewers starting first baseman, will join the show at 6:30. So Jake Bowers at 5:30, Andrew Vaughn at 6:30 tomorrow night. Hot Stove Weekly here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Before we get to the Brewers, I got to bring something up because I forgot all about it. And it's personal stuff. It's not sports related necessarily. But I think there are some of you that may agree with you. Me, maybe not. I know Charlie doesn't. But I am a person that hates self-checkouts.
Of course. It always goes back to self-checkouts.
Self-checkouts. Yeah. I cannot stand self-checkouts. So, like, in my town, there's a grocery store that after 8 o'clock, it's only self-checkouts. I don't go there anymore. I go to the grocery stores that still have people. And then the one is still 10 o'clock. And if it's after 10 o'clock, then I only have one left where there's actually a human being still that I go to. But I have it figured out. Okay. I'm going to call out this store specifically right now because I'm so happy and excited. So a lot of Walmarts were just self-checkouts. Mm-hmm. And the Walmart in South Milwaukee, I think it's South Milwaukee, Cudahy, wherever, was a self-checkout one only, right? And you would have like one or two cashiers that were, kind of up against it. I'm sure you've been in Walmarts that have the same thing. Man, we haven't been to that one in apparently, I guess it's been a month. I didn't realize it. So we went there the other day over the weekend, and Kay was like, there's actual people with the registers. There were 6 people working registers. They still had some self-checkouts, but they put them all back in. So I was excited. I was like, oh, this is different. This is good. They're bringing some of this stuff back. Got in line, asked lady, like, when did this all happen? She's like, probably a month or so ago. I was like, A+, I'm in. So very happy. Now, if we can get everybody else to bring back human beings to run some of these cash registers, I'd be really, really excited.
All right. I'm happy for you, yes. Sparky. I'm fine with the self-checkouts. If people want to wait in line at the cash register for the slowest experience of your life, that one time me and you went to the grocery store and you were so mad. Oh, you were making me so angry.
Yes, you were so mad. I knew he was.
You picked the longest line too. And there was even other lines moving faster. He would not move over.
I was like, I'll check it out, dude. I got it. I was like, no, I'm not going over there. We're staying right here and in line. Do you know something else that I've noticed?
What's that?
Costco? Mm-hmm. I don't understand people. I do not understand people. Because there are people like you, I'm going to get in line all the way to the back wall because it's self-service. Meanwhile, I cut through them people and go where there's actually people, and I walk right up and check my stuff out. I was like, y'all are going to be here for 20 minutes. You could have just had a human being do it. And now at Costco, they literally come up to your shopping cart and scan your stuff. So literally when you get up there, you don't even have to unload your cart. You just pay and you go. I don't understand. I don't understand people.
I mean, if it's a case where it's a long line at self-checkout, I'll move over to the shorter line. If there is,
you're not dedicated to only doing self-checkout?
I'm dedicated to convenience when it comes to being in a store. I just hate shopping. So
I love shopping.
The quicker I can get out of a store, that's what I want to do. It doesn't matter if it's a person or the self-checkout, but 9 out of 10 times, the people lines are 10 times longer.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just saying, I love shopping. So to me, that doesn't bother me whatsoever. And the other thing, another side note, since I'm just ranting on non-sports stuff here real quick, I've said this before too. These stores that are in malls, and everybody says, malls are dying and they're shutting them down left and right. You want to know why they're dying? Because all of these companies realize that, hey, man, if I sell it online, I don't got people who work in my store. I don't got to pay leases for these malls. So what did they do? They created all the sales better online than they are in the store. And then once they were selling more online than they were in the store, they're like, we don't got to do this anymore. We're out. We're just going to do it online from now on. They sabotaged it. I promise you. If the deals were in the stores, right? If it was 25% off in the store, full price online, all of these malls would be just fine and everything would be going just great. But instead, again, the rich want to get richer. I'm not surprised by this. And we go the other way and all these malls are getting shut down.
But also check out your local malls. There's a lot of really cool local shops and a lot of malls in the area that people don't know about because they're just not have that same presence online.
Amen.
Really awesome shops owned by really awesome people. Go check out your local malls.
Thank you. Yes, I'm all in on malls. I love shopping malls. Okay, now that we completely sidetracked there for a few minutes, I just had to get off my chest. I forgot about going in on Walmart. I was like, oh man, I never even told Charlie. Okay, so we were talking about this Brewers thing yesterday to lead the show off about Eugenio Suarez and potentially not getting him and him signing with the Reds, 1 year, $15 million mutual option, all that fine. We're not going to rehash that. I'm not going to do that again. But I do have a question. As a Brewers fan, again, no wrong answer. It's opinion. Your opinion, my opinion, we can agree to disagree. This isn't a I'm right and you're wrong or you're right and I'm wrong. Just whatever you feel as a fan. On a year-to-year basis, what do the Brewers need to do for you to be happy with them at the end of the season? So when the season ends in October, where do they have to be, or what has to be the case for you to be like, man, that was a good Brewer season, man. I really had a lot of fun. That was awesome, right? What is that thing where you're like, if they make the playoffs every year, I'm good. Like, I know they're never going to go to the World Series. I'm happy just being in the playoffs, seeing some playoff baseball, winning a bunch of baseball games. I don't even care about the World Series. I'm just happy being a playoff team. Maybe that's you. Maybe it's went to a few games, saw a couple of walk-offs or some big moments. That was good enough for me. It could be, I just love going to Brewer games because it's great family bonding time. We tailgate. We have a lot of fun. It's something that we do as a family. It's a tradition. Don't really care wins and losses or whatever. I'm fine with it. What is it for you as a Brewers fan? Because yesterday, I'm talking about how do you get to a World Series? How do you stop doing the same damn thing over and over, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, which is what the Brewers are doing. And again, they're going to the playoffs every year, and people are fine with it. Like, hey, we're good, whatever. And we're not going to go to the playoffs. We're never going to the World Series anyhow because of the Dodgers, so I'm not even trying to get to the World Series anymore. So that may be where you're at. I'm just curious, like, am I in the minority here, like still wanting this team to try and figure out how to get to a World Series and not being happy if you necessarily don't get there and wanting more? Nicolay Law, talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. On the socials at WI Sports Radio, live streaming on X and on YouTube. Check out the YouTube channel. Got shorts, got all kinds of different videos and stuff right there as well. Lots of fun stuff there, again, on YouTube at WI Sports Radio. Charlie, what is it for you? Now, again, I know you're a Cubs fan, but you've already said that last year you were kind of pulling for the Brewers the entire year. This isn't Packers-Bears to you. You're in on the Brewers.
I grew up going to Brewers games. I grew up going to Bucks games. I love both those teams. I still cheer for both those teams, despite also being fans of Chicago teams too. But I think this kind of goes for any of my favorite teams. What I always want to be happy the next season is to at least take a step forward from that season prior. So I think this upcoming season from the Milwaukee Brewers, you made it to the NL Championship Series. I'm expecting a World Series appearance. That's kind of what I want to say. I want you to take that next step. But if they were to take a step backwards and I'm disappointed with this season, I'm not going to be happy. But then this expectations kind of reset. They step backwards and lose in the NLDS. You know what? My goal for next year is that you guys make the NLCS, and I'm happy with that. Then I think that's what it becomes each season. Exactly.
Progression.
One step forward.
Right, progression. When I was younger, my 20s, probably 30s too, early 30s, if there wasn't a substantial run to an NLCS or something like that, I was mad at the world. Angry, I tell you. And then as life moved forward and you have a family and all the other stuff going on, and then it's not just solely focused on sports 24/7 necessarily, because there becomes other priorities in your life. Kind of how you look at sports, I think, changes a little bit. There's other things more important than sports to some people at that point. And what I've realized here in the last couple of years is I think that I have definitely changed in the aspect of when the year ended to the Dodgers, it was like, hey, that's cool. They beat the Cubs. And I was happy. Like literally during the postseason last year, all I said was, I don't care if they lose the next series. Doesn't matter. Just do not lose to the traitor and the Cubs. Whatever happens, do not lose. If they would have lost that series, I'd still be screaming mad now, all this time later. But they won that series. And like they celebrated, I celebrated. It was like, don't care what happens next. And then the Brewers played like they don't care what happens next after that, right? And it was just a complete mismatch on paper. I'm not pulling the wool over anybody's eyes or trying to joke to this. That series was close. It wasn't. But that is, for me, I think I've changed. Now it's not, I'm mad at the world if they don't go to the NLCS, or I'm mad at the world they don't go to the World Series. Now it's like, it's a fun brand of baseball. I love watching this team play the last couple of years as well, and have enjoyed every moment of it. And I'll enjoy watching this team play this year, too, because I think they're going to be good again. But if you want to hop aboard, dial it up, 414-677-1250. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Download the Wendy's app today.
Here we are on a Tuesday, hour number 2. Earlier today, Badgers play-by-play voice Matt LePay joined Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh this morning. If you missed it, text the keyword Badgers to the Nicolay Law Talking text line, 414-677-1250. Have it sent right to your phone. How cool is that? That's the keyword Badgers to the talking text line number 414-677-1250 to hear the Matt LePay interview from earlier this morning. See, we're getting tricky here. The keywords and all this stuff. Just like if you ever want to hear this show, and you're like, oh man, I'm sitting at my desk, I want you to put my headphones in, whatever else. You can just text Sparky to the talking text line, and it'll give you the podcast page from wisportsradio.com of Wisconsin Sports Daily whenever you want to do it. Forever. Doesn't matter what time of day it is, what time of night it is. It's always there for you if you want to go that way to listen to the shows. There is text messages coming in, and I see a message in the Dugout YouTube chat. We were talking about the Brewers. We'll continue to talk about the Brewers. But I got a text here, another big NBA trade. Yes, I knew what it was. I didn't think it was big. And then what is that? Kenny Mack 19, right? On the Dugout YouTube chat. Did you all see what the Celtics and Bulls did? They just made a deal. Come on, Bucks, man. All right, so what do you got, Charlie?
So the Chicago Bulls are trading center Nikola Vucevic to the Boston Celtics along with a second-round pick for Anthony Simons and a second-round pick coming back as well.
I love what the Bulls have done so far. Ivy's a nice young player. Simons has always had the potential to be a nice young player.
Vucevic didn't want to be there, really. He just kept talking about how hard it is to play with a young team.
But the problem is with Vucevic, like, he's not a shot blocker. Like, he's an old school NBA center, like the Greg Monroes of the world back in the day a little bit. I mean, he can stretch the floor, I guess, better, but
not as much as he was 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, if you need rebounding, okay. But he ain't going to stop anybody from going to the rim at the end of the day.
Traffic cone at the rim, actually. Correct. Not even just not going to stop.
Right.
But.
So good for the Bulls for getting Simons in a second for him. I think that's a good move there, and they move off of Vucevic. So Bulls are active. They know their season is done. So they're moving off of some stuff and trying to build for the future. Still nothing on Giannis as we still wait. Jaren Jackson traded earlier today from Memphis to Utah. Ja Morant has to be next. So we're waiting for the Ja Morant news. NBA trade deadline, 2 p.m. coming up on Thursday. Keep it locked in right here, Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, whether it's WNFL in Green Bay and Appleton, 99.7 FM, whether it's The Game, 93.9 The Game in Wausau, or 710 The Game in Duluth Superior, or on The Fan in Milwaukee, 1250 AM, 105.7 FM. We got you. We're all over this NBA trade deadline stuff, so keep it locked in. We're talking about the Brewers prior to the break. We only did a couple minutes because I got sidetracked talking about cash registers. But the question is this: what do the Brewers need to do for you to be happy at the end of each season? Is it just making the playoffs? Is it something else? I just don't feel like for most people it has anything to do with this team going to the World Series, which is fine. I'm just curious on everybody's opinions. Nicolay Law Talking text line 414-677-1250. Ron in Rome, you are next. What's up, Ron?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
You know, I grew up in New York in the 60s. They used to let us take our transistor radio to elementary school and listen to the Yankees in the World Series. Then we had the 69 Miracle Mets, the 77 Yankees. So I moved to Wisconsin in 82.
Nice.
And I know how thrilling it is, you know, to be in a World Series. And for most of the time with the Brewers, I was just happy to listen to Bob Uecker. The games were actually funnier when they were getting killed because he'd be hilarious, tell these stories. But then I bought a 10-pack during the Prince Fielder years, and that was fun. But I really didn't start to get mad at the Brewers for not trying to contend until maybe the last 10 years. Then that kind of peaked at the Hader trade, which is, I think, why Counsell and Stearns left. And so I've been kind of mad. Well, why won't they get a power hitter? But then when Murphy came, I'm a big fan of like Billy Martin's small ball. So I love this Murphy ball, and I really, really enjoyed last year. And I think the best thing last year was when Blake Perkins threw that Mets player out at the plate.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff like that's enough to keep me happy. And every year I'm like, I'm not going to get sucked into thinking they're going to win the World Series. And then their pitching's great. I'm like, well, maybe they will win a World Series, and then I get crushed in the playoffs.
Yep.
So I don't blame Atanasio now. We can't afford these crazy contracts that the Dodgers are giving out and stuff. And so I'm happy to just, have a season like last year. I'm not going to start hoping we win the World Series unless they spend like maybe $30 million a year on a legit cleanup hitter, which I think we really need, because I think Yelich is done with hitting home runs. I think his back's still bothering him.
He had a pretty good year last year, though. I mean, he was one of the better hitters in baseball last year.
Yeah, until he strained his back in August.
Correct.
And I've had back surgery. You can't be torquing your body, hitting home runs without hurting your back. And so I wish he would just become like Jonathan Lucroy and hit doubles and be happy with that and stop trying to hit home runs.
Well, that's
going to hurt his back.
That's what he was when he was younger with the Marlins. He was a doubles guy until he got to Milwaukee, and then that's when it all took off from the power perspective. Rob, thanks for the call. Yeah. So is it then like being somebody that plays golf but isn't very good? Is that what being a Brewers fan is like, right? Because if you play golf and you're not very good, for those of you that play golf and aren't very good, those of you that are good, you don't count. But those of you that aren't good like me, where you go out to the golf course, you play 9 holes, let's say, because if you're not very good, you don't want to go through 18. You play 9 holes, you hit one clean shot, right? You crush it. The rest of your day was horrible. But that one clean shot, you're like, man, I hit a couple of those, I'll be pretty good. And it drags you back out there to try and play the game again, right? I feel like that's kind of maybe as a Brewers fan, those big plays and those big moments and that excitement that goes along with it and that energy that goes along with it. We've talked about this in the past, but when you're at an NBA game, it's cool, man. Like, it's a great environment. I think college basketball, when you're in a really cool stadium with a jam-packed house, like when Wade and Diener and Novak were making their run for Marquette, the Bradley Center was electric back in the day, taking on the Reese Gaines and Louisville and all those guys. It was an amazing atmosphere, one of the best atmospheres I've been in. But I don't feel like when you start comparing big moments in big games, it's hard to beat baseball, man. In those big moments, those electric moments, regardless if there's a ton of people there, not a ton of people there, there is just this over-the-top elation that goes along with it because you've been sitting there for 3 freaking hours waiting for something big to happen or whatever the case may be. And then you have the people that get up and walk out early to beat the traffic in Milwaukee, of all places. Give me a break. But that's what happens, right? And then you're sitting there, you're one of the few left, and all of a sudden they come back and get a victory. Like, there's just not much like it. Where for basketball, there's 2 minutes left. I don't care what happens. It's over in 2 minutes. With baseball, there's 3 outs left. A lot can happen with 3 outs. You could be down 3 runs, come back and win in the bottom of the 9th. NBA, if there's a minute left and you're down 12, it's over. Go home, right? Doesn't matter. Baseball, as long as you have 3 outs, you can score as many times as you possibly can, and people can sit there and hope and wait and whatever. And then if they sit through it, what happens? The next day at work, they're telling everybody, yeah, all these people left. I stayed. I was there. That was awesome. And you're going to tell everybody about that for the rest of your life. I just think baseball leads to more of those bigger fan moments that are remembered forever, more so than maybe some of the other sports.
I think so. And I think it's just across the sport in general. Some of my favorite sports moments that I remember, maybe not even seeing live, but just seeing on TV, are baseball moments. Jose Bautista hitting the walk-off in the NLDS for the Blue Jays to send them to the ALCS, to send them to the ALCS. That picture of him flipping the bat is just ingrained in my mind. You remember those types of things, and it's not even your favorite team. And then you talk about your favorite team and all the moments that you remember. I think those just stick with you a little bit more than even the NBA, even the NFL. And that's something to, I guess, be happy about as a fan, that you can have those moments every season as a Milwaukee Brewers fan. But at some point, I guess it's also the idea of things getting diluted when you start seeing it just over and over again, but it doesn't result in anything. You do get a little desensitized to that.
Asking you the question, what do the Brewers need to do for you to be happy at the end of each season? Could be to make the playoffs. Could be, doesn't matter. We just love the tradition of going with the family and love the tailgating and the bonding. Doesn't matter wins and losses for you. Maybe it is World Series or bust for you, and you're mad at the end of every year because they don't go to the World Series. Dial it up, Nicolay Law Talk, text line 414-677-1250. The 224 texts in and says, I do believe in the bites at the apple strategy, but with all these playoff appearances, the expectations are elevated. Need to at least compete in the NLCS or appear in a World Series sometime in this run. That is from Ken in River West. We saw the NLCS previous with Yelich and Kane and those guys and legitimately thought that was going to be the run. The Fielder and Braun era team, when you had the Cardinals, and that was prior to Nyjer Morgan previously going after Albert Pujols on Twitter and everything else that led up to it. And losing that series to Cardinals was crushing because you thought that was your chance to go with that crew to go win this thing, and they couldn't figure it out. And now we sit here and we look at it, and we're talking about another talented farm system coming, like Braun, Fielder, Weeks, Harden, Hardy, like that. Now you have another one. The last time they were number one was with that crew. So now you're in a position where hopefully in the next, 5 to 8 years, you give yourself a chance to be a serious contender again.
Well, and the big difference is you just made the NL Championship Series. Let's not forget that they are already an awesome team in MLB. Those other teams didn't have that prior to this. They were starting a new trend. Now you're getting all these players for the next 5 to 8 years on top of an already successful team. I mean, you got to feel good about that.
Patrick in Hubertus says division title and playoffs. So the current MLB financial disparities, hopefully that changes after December 1st for 2027. That's when the CBA is up. A World Series appearance would be lightning in a bottle and a once in a lifetime event. Unfortunately, I was 14 years old in 1982. I might have seen it already. Patrick and Hubertus. I was 6, don't remember it at all, but my aunt saved all the Milwaukee Sentinels, I think it was, because the Journal and the Sentinel were separated back then. There was a morning and a night newspaper. I think I have all the Sentinel newspapers from after every game of that World Series that she saved for me, which was very cool, obviously, at that point. KJ in West Allis, you're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. What's up, KJ?
Hey, good afternoon, Sparky. Thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
Sparky, I guess I've pretty much resigned myself to the fact that the Brewers may not make it to a World Series in my lifetime. But I have to say that in my mind, they're the most overachieving team for what they have. They've done more with less than most teams that I've seen in baseball. And as long as they make the playoffs, and they win the division, they beat the Cubs, and the Cardinals and whoever else in the division, I'm happy about that. I like the bonding idea of going to games. I like the spectacular plays, the great pitching, all that. I guess it would just be icing on the cake, if you will, if they go to the World Series, and you never know. It could happen. But I don't want to be crushed like I have in the past, thinking, okay, this is the year, every year. So I'm just going to, let it kind of flow the way it does, and hopefully we'll get there one day.
Well, that's the thing, right? We're hoping on a prayer is what we're doing. Thanks for the call. Again, those of us that are older, no idea. I mean, legitimately, this farm system right now might be our last chance. This might be our best and last chance to see this team potentially get there if they can finish. Colin in Waukesha on the Nicolay Law Talk and text line. I think the Brewers' time will come. We have some serious prospects in our sore spots for the team. These prospects need to develop and will make some noise. Yeah, I agree with you. That's what you're needing, though, right? You're relying on these guys to develop and take the next step at some point. 920 JB in the 920 says, so what you're saying is over-under betting is absolutely and supremely important to the NBA. Well, JB, years ago, man, I don't even know when it would have been. I don't know, probably like 2010 or somewhere in that area, maybe before that. I used to go to Vegas with Tim Allen every year. And we'd go hang out. And back then, the Stardust was standing and not destroyed and gone. And that would be where we would go to the sports book to watch NFL games and so forth and all that. And I'll never forget hanging out with these regulars that lived in Vegas, and that's where they came and they played or whatever else. And we were talking about the NBA. Now, again, this was a different time. This is not this NBA, right? And he's like, hey, man. And he wrote down for me how to bet the NBA, right? You bet unders for the most part. Then you look at teams on the second day of a back-to-back that have to travel, and then you bet this and this. He was right. Like, he had it absolutely locked in. Did everyone hit no? But probably a majority of the ones of how he said to play it were working. So, yeah, and like I always say, if you want to learn how to bet something one way or the other, if you go to Vegas and hang out with the regulars in Vegas in a sports book and get them to start talking to you and trusting you, more than likely they're going to give you what their philosophy is or what they believe in and so forth. You'll get the same thing from our guy, Austin Herdina. When we follow the money on Fridays, same type of deal. Or the leadoff show with Tommy Wirtz before games when he has his wager of the day or whatever on that show, and he gives you his reasoning and belief of why he's doing what he's doing in the baseball world. And it's just crazy when he starts hitting parlays, man. He's like three-player parlays or a team and
weeks
two-player
straight too. Every time
he got so hot last summer. And I literally was on the air going, man, listen, you should just be sitting in the Potawatomi Sportsbook in the parking garage waiting. And once he gives you his wager, go inside the doors. There's kiosks right there off the parking garage. Place your wager. And then if you got somewhere else to go, you can go home, whatever the case may be. But don't miss out on taking advantage of Austin Herdina's baseball wagers. This guy was so hot last year. Like, it makes so much sense at the end of the day. 414 JP and Tosa says, just go for it. Big pickup at the deadline or get a power hitter. The mid-level free agents are just not going to cut it. That's JP and Tosa. JP, I'll say what I said yesterday. The last time they went for it at a deadline was Sabathia. Yelich was off-season. Greinke was off-season. Yelich was off-season. Kane was an off-season free agent signing.
You did have somebody yelling at you in the dugout chat about Mike Moustakas being a midseason trade acquisition.
I don't think so. I think he was a free agent signing. You can look it up. Go look it up. I'm pretty sure he was a free agent signing with Grandal, and they got him both on like 1-year deals because they weren't getting the money that they wanted.
He was traded from the Royals to Milwaukee halfway through the 2018 season, and then they re-signed him in 2019.
All right, good. What did they get for him?
I got to scroll down on his baseball reference to find that. You make me do all this extra work.
All this work. I know. As a producer of the show, I'm asking you to find something.
For Jorge Lopez and Brett Phillips.
Oh, right. Brett Phillips. Right. And everybody was like, Brett Phillips. But I mean, we were excited about Moustakas. Obviously, why? Because he was a power hitter. And had that success, had World Series rings and all of that fun stuff that goes along with it. So I forgot they traded for him. I thought he was a free agent signing like Grandal was. So good. That was nicely done there. All right, take a quick time out. Come back on the other side. I said we were going to go over a trade package for the Bucks every day. One of these trade packages that people throw out. Sam Quinn of CBS Sports, NBA insider over there, put together a bunch of different trade packages. He put together one that I just started laughing and said, well, I mean, if they get all of that, I don't know how you potentially say no if you're the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll tell you what that is coming up next. And don't forget, when the Bucks win, you win at Wendy's. I heard Mitch Thundernellis earlier going, how about when the Bucks play, you just win? Like, how about we just change it? But they're not changing it. When the Bucks win, you win at Wendy's. After every Bucks win, stop by any participating Wisconsin Wendy's for a free small vanilla or chocolate frosted classic. No purchase necessary. This offer is only good for 24 hours after a win, so act fast. Get that free small frosted classic at Wendy's. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you. Charlie Usen producing today's show. Charlie Sounds of the Day brought to you by Prize Picks, still to come. And speaking of our fine folks over there at Prize Picks, the big game is almost here. There's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close the season out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups. When you play your first $5, use code SPARKY, S-P-A-R-K-Y. Again, use code SPARKY, S-P-A-R-K-Y. And with the new social feeds feature, you can share Prize Picks to your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single copy. Lineups you will like, or use them as inspiration for your own picks. And Prize Picks now as early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. It's more or less on stat projections by Prize Picks. It's just really that easy. It got all kinds of different sports. I did a lineup today. Prize Picks lineup today, if you'd like to follow along. They have a max discount right now on Drake May, more than a half a passing yard. So I took that one. Max discount Drake May. They're giving you one essentially, right? So that's more than a half passing yard. Then I went with Drake May again, more than a half a passing touchdown. I feel good about that. And then the third one I went with is Cooper Kupp, more than a reception and a half. So if he gets 2 receptions, I'm good. Those are the 3 I went with. I did not flex play it, right? Because I wouldn't get as much, but if I get one wrong, I'm good. I went on the power play for all 3. I feel good about that on Sunday.
I feel good about that one too. Cooper Kupp this past Saturday on Wisconsin Sports Weekend, I did that same exact one. I said more than 1.5 receptions for him, and I said he could be my dark horse candidate for Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, so we'll see how that all plays out. Hey, download the Prize Picks app today and use code SPARKY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code SPARKY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for details. I want to read one more text message here before we move on. And this is from Don in Upper Dallas. I always want the Crew to win the World Series next year since I was in 8th grade in 82. But as I get older, I better understand how hard it is to win a championship and the fact that just one team can win it each year. I love baseball and keep the faith that one of these years, my Brewers will get on the championship run. Thanks for taking a few minutes to talk sports with my guys at our table Friday night. That's Don in Upper Dallas. Don, that was a lot of fun. We were all out there watching Tim Allen's band playing classic rock at Swaggers in Franklin. Place was packed. Got to talk to a lot of cool listeners like Don and all of his buddies, and it was a lot of fun. So good seeing you out there. Good talking to everybody. All right, so we've been doing this thing where every day between now and Thursday at 2 o'clock for the NBA trade deadline, we pick one of these random trade proposals that these guys have all over the internet. And I saw one last night, and I started laughing. Sam Quinn, who's an NBA insider for CBS Sports, put together a bunch of different deals. This one to me was way over the top. And the question just simply is, would you do it? Would you do this deal? Would this be enough for you if you're the Bucks to move Giannis? What do you got?
So this is a 5-team trade with the Minnesota Timberwolves being the team that gets Giannis Antetokounmpo. They'd also be receiving Miles Turner, Kyle Kuzma, Bobby Portis, and Julian Phillips from the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls would be getting Julius Randle and Josh Green from the Hornets and Julius Randle from the Timberwolves. The Hornets would be getting Jaden McDaniels from the Timberwolves. The Celtics are in on this trade and would be getting Rudy Gobert, which probably isn't likely now
because they got Vucevic.
Mm-hmm.
But go on.
And the Bucks in this trade would be getting Anthony Simons, again, was traded to the Chicago Bulls recently. It doesn't mean he can't be traded again, though, to the Bucks in some kind of side trade, which is also why I think the Bulls are stacking up here on other players. But Naz Reid, Zach Collins, Kevin Huerter, Grant Williams, Sam Hauser, Dalen Terry, Joan Behringer, Terrence Shannon Jr., Bones Highland, 5 first-round picks, and the Minnesota Timberwolves 2028 first-round swap rights.
And that's a whole team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a
completely new roster. You can trade everybody else too.
Right. Now, again, Herter was traded earlier today as well. So you got a couple guys that probably aren't going to be involved in that deal anymore. but the Bulls and Celtics made their own deal right there with Vucevic. So maybe there would be interest in doing something else if you'd rather have Rudy Gobert than Vucevic. I don't know.
Just turning it into a bigger trade. You see teams doing that all the time where you start with one trade that all of a sudden comes 5 teams in that trade.
Absolutely right. It absolutely does. Would you do it? Nikolai Law, talk a text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250 on X and on YouTube at WI Sports Radio. What say you, Charlie?
I don't think I'd do this trade. I think this is a little bit of an over, I guess, haul of in one move. I think if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks and I trade Giannis, I want to be able to then look at all the other pieces that didn't get traded in that trade and be able to find homes for those with a little bit more delicacy. Sure. I think if you slam all these players together that you want to move on from, I think it kind of backs you up into, okay, yeah, I'm making this one big deal, especially with 5 teams. You can't really add any more teams into that. You have to be happy with what you're getting in that one trade. I'd rather have each of these players be their own decision, especially since guys like Turner and Kuzma are getting the attention they are.
Yeah, absolutely right. And again, I think if you trade Giannis, Miles Turner has to find a different home too, right? I think the premise of that deal to me makes sense. Now, you can argue about the return, but the idea of we're going to get rid of Portis, Kuzma, Turner, and Giannis, they're all going. Now, I don't really care if they all go in one deal or if they go in 2 deals or if they go in 3 deals. I don't care how you get rid of them. But if you're going to blow it up, do what Memphis is doing. They traded Bane last offseason. They traded Jaren Jackson Jr. today. They're going to trade Ja Morant probably by the deadline at 2 o'clock on Thursday. Do it that way. Go get and stack a bunch of picks. If you can get a 1 for Miles Turner, do it. If you can find some sucker to give you a 1 for Bobby Portis, I don't care if it's in 2035 or what year it is, go make that deal. Same with Kyle Kuzma. Wherever you can get picks, even second-round picks at this point, I'm fine with, because you don't have any of those either, because you emptied the cupboard trying to make Giannis happy, who now obviously isn't happy anymore because you had 1 bad season. Let's go to CB downtown. You're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. What's up, CB?
What's going on, man? I definitely wouldn't do the deal. Who the 5 teams y'all said?
Go ahead, Charlie. You can go ahead and Charlie's got it. It's a monster.
So it's the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Charlotte Hornets, the Boston Celtics, the Chicago Bulls, and the Milwaukee Bucks.
And read the Bucks comeback. What are the players?
Anthony Simons, Naz Reid, Zach Collins, Kevin Huerter, Grant Williams, Sam Hauser, Dalen Terry, Joan Behringer, Terrence Shannon Jr., and Bones Highland.
If I can't get Kyle Knippel in that deal, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, they're not going to trade Knippel. There's no chance.
More likely to trade Ball.
Yeah,
you never know.
No.
You never know. It can happen. Anything is possible.
But I mean, again, it's like Jalen Johnson in Atlanta. I want that in the pick swap. I don't need anything else. Just those 2. I don't need 100 first-round picks or anything like that. I just need Jalen Johnson in a pick swap, and I'm good. You can keep everybody else. Not? You can keep all of your picks, because then I get Jalen Johnson. I get Jalen Johnson. I get 2 top 3, 2 top 5 picks to build around. I have my next core, and I'm fine.
More picks, Sparky, the more you can maneuver with some other things and hold on to them. So,
sure,
yeah, the more picks, the better, buddy.
But there's no guarantee you're going to see a loaded class like this anywhere in the future. We'll have to wait and see. Thanks for the call. That's just it. Everybody else is like, whoa, wait for the draft lottery and see what happens. Okay, wait for the draft lottery and see what happens. If you do that, then Atlanta ends up with 1 or 2 or 3. There's no chance they're making that deal at that point. If you're going to make this deal, you have to do it before the draft lottery. Now, could you get screwed? You could. These guys, you could end up at 4 and 5. But again, there's still really good talent in the draft lottery outside of the top 3 or 4. So it still would be a good deal for the Milwaukee Bucks if it were to play out that way. And I love Gery Woelfel, who earlier was like, hey, if you lose Giannis, NBA will help you get the number 1 pick. Again, conspiracy theories, all that, tongue-in-cheek joking. But I don't think they're helping Milwaukee. With all due respect, I don't buy that at all.
They got their championship. I think it'd be different if the Bucks had gotten close and never won the championship, and then maybe the NBA would be like, all right, try to see if we can give them the storyline of bouncing back after moving on from Giannis. But they won it. The NBA doesn't care about the Bucks, it feels like sometimes. They just sit here and are like okay with all these rumors coming out, all these different things being said about the Bucks, and it just feels like the NBA would rather Giannis gets out of there and they're just done with Milwaukee for now.
Correct. And that's not the feeling you want to have if you're a Milwaukee Bucks fan at this point. That's not the feeling that you want to have.
It's a scary feeling. Yeah.
Yes, it's a very scary feeling at this point if you're the Milwaukee Bucks. But that's the one thing that we talk about here with this trade and getting it right. And Gery said earlier that, there's some disagreement. Maybe they're not all on the same page with the Bucks owners that are involved in this thing about whether they want to trade him or whether they want to keep him. I would love to know who's on what side of what. But
if you wait for Charlie's sound of the day, one of the owners kind of talked about it.
No, that's good. Would you want to be John Horst at this point?
No.
Making millions of dollars, all that. You got a championship ring. If you train wreck this because of the owners wanting to do something that you don't want to do, it's going to be on your resume forever, regardless of people believing or not believing you that you had nothing to do with it. Like, would you want to be there in that position right now? Like, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I don't think I'd be able to sleep if I was John Horst. I'd be so stressed to the nines on this deal.
Yeah, probably. But also at the same time, he's said, or at least it's been reported that he said it's not really on his shoulders, this whole deal, that the owners are taking the blame or the grace for what's happening with this situation, that he's just going to be the guy that shakes hands at the end when the deal is all ready to be said and done. He's going to be the guy that puts the details together when the owners decide they want to trade Giannis. Yeah, it's scary, and it's something that's going to be a mark on your record moving forward. But at the end of the day, you can at least say it wasn't my final decision.
He's not going to say that. There's no chance. He's not throwing the owners under the bus.
If it doesn't work out and he's not on this team anymore in the future, yeah, he could say whatever he wants then.
I don't think he will. Most of these guys never do. Most of these guys never, ever do. And you want to know why they don't? Because then they're not going to get a job by anybody else. You throw a previous owner under the bus, another owner on another NBA team is not going to trust you to go do this, knowing that if he meddles, and they all do, then you're going to throw him under the bus if it doesn't work out too. All these guys keep it to their chest and don't say anything. Will they tell certain people what really happened? Absolutely. Will they go on record at a press conference or in an interview and say that? No chance. No chance.
Could take like a David Sampson approach and get out of that business go like podcasting and just say whatever you want about all the owners you worked for and everything.
Sure. Yes. You could absolutely go crazy and do that David way Sampson. And essentially, trash your career of ever being in that sport again and go that way. I love having David Sampson on, but that was his choice. Like, screw it. I don't care if I get hired again. I'm out. So that could be essentially what John Horst decides as well. Hey, Badgers play-by-play voice Matt LePage joined Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh this morning. If you missed it, text the keyword Badgers to the Nicolay Law Talk and text line 414-677-1250. Have it sent right to your phone. That's the keyword Badgers to 414-677-1250 to hear the Matt LePage interview from earlier this morning. Take a quick time out, come back. On the other side, it's Charlie's Sounds of the Day. Oh, buddy, it's going to be a lot of fun. You know what else is a lot of fun? Winning. And if you're looking for a personal injury lawyer and you think winning, who do you think? You think Habish, and Rotier, man. Around since 1930, and all they do is win. They've got some of the biggest wins and some of the biggest cases in the state of Wisconsin. They've won at such a level that they're known nationwide now. Nationwide reputation because of the winning that they've done. And the cool thing about them is, yeah, they're big, right? They got locations all over the state. What is it? 13 locations all over the state of Wisconsin. So if you're in Green Bay, got you. If you're in Appleton listening to WNFL, got you. If you're listening to the game in Wausau, got you there too. They're all over the place. But when you go to them, it's all about you and your case, the personal touch that you want. That's really what it's all about at the end. Go to Habish.com today. Habish, and Rotier, national reputation, hometown service. Welcome back. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Don't forget Wisconsin Sports wrap up from 5 to 6 tonight with Tommy Wirtz. Get you the best of the day on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. It's always can't miss radio. We're going to get to Charlie Sounds of the day. But before I do that, I got a text here. You're my producer, right?
Yeah.
You're here every day.
I am. Mm-hmm.
You listen to me more than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You've never brought this up to me, maybe because you don't want to or whatever. But you need to bring this up to me if I am doing what this guy says I am doing, because I clearly don't realize I'm doing it. From the 414, it says, Sparky, please stop saying at this point, it's out of hand. And then the poor dude or girl, whoever it was that texted, then got a response that said, Odyssey, Milwaukee, thanks you. You'll no longer receive messages unless you text us again. Because if you text the word stop in any text message, you get a response that essentially stops you at this point, which is kind of funny. But would you say I say that a lot? And if so, we need to figure out how to stop it.
I guess I don't hear it as much as other people do. I think it's a phrase that's important to use. I think we use it a lot.
Well, it's a point that I can stop using. We'll figure out a different phrase to use.
I'll start counting.
Every person usually walking the face of the earth has crutch words that they like to use all the time. My 9-year-old used to say the word like all the time. So I was at school, we did this and I was like, okay, stop. I was like, now tell me the story, but don't say like. It took him 10 minutes or so because he just started laughing and couldn't figure out how to say what he wanted to say without his crutch word being like. So if y'all hear me doing that, please do tell me. I will not be offended. I will try and be better because that's what we're all trying to be in this business, is better.
When I first started here, almost 2 years ago now, actually, that's kind of crazy to think about. But I forget what the word was, but I was saying it all the time. And I just spent every show for the next 2 weeks just counting how many times I said that word until I stopped saying that word as much as I did because I didn't want to count how many times I said the word. So I'm going to start counting for you.
Yes, please do. Yes. And then we have to figure out another phrase that can replace that phrase when I need to say something along those same lines. Okay. At this point, it's time for Sounds of the Day.
1, 2, 3. What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, Charlie, Sounds of the Day, brought to you by Prize Picks. What say you?
All right, so first up, I teased it a little bit before. One of the Bucks owners has spoken out about the Giannis trade talks. That is Jimmy Haslam when he was doing his press conference for the Browns today. Actually, got questions about Giannis in that press conference. Here's what Jimmy Haslam had to say on the Giannis trade talks.
I would say this, Jason. Giannis is, I don't know, top 3, top 4 player in the world. He brought Milwaukee its first championship in 50 years, several years ago. And he's a really good person too. He's no problem. He's a great leader, tries hard. And I think Giannis and the Bucks, and this goes back to before we were involved, have always worked closely to see what's best for Giannis and what's best for the Bucks, and we'll continue to do so.
What's a successful trade look like?
I can't. That's a question for John Horst.
Nicely done. Spun that quickly. So who is the guy that asked the question? Is it a Cleveland writer?
A Cleveland writer, yeah.
Good for you, man. Good for you asking that question and throwing it out there.
I think the way he phrased it was is what's happening with the Giannis situation in Milwaukee changing any of your focus on what we're doing with the Browns right now? Then he responded with that.
No, I highly doubt it. I'm pretty sure Jimmy Haslam is very suited at failing multiple organizations at one time. So
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure he probably is just finding out that Giannis probably wants a trade. He's been working it in
that
Cleveland.
Dude's got his hands in it. Don't kid yourself. This whole John Horst, come on, man. They all know what's going on. They're all involved. They've been involved since he got here at this point. So we'll see how this plays out. But again, this is and will be an organization changing trade. And if they screw it up, it's going to take them probably a good decade or so to try and bail themselves out of if they don't do this correctly. And if you get a bunch of picks, a lot of you are like, well, get rid of John Horst. Okay, get rid of John Horst. bring Charlie in. Guess what? Charlie's going to have just as much say because the owners are still going to want to make the picks and do what they want to do. So it's not really going to matter at the end of the day. Okay, Charlie, what's next?
Talking about Bucks trades, let's head on over to the Open Floor podcast with Chris Mannix on Sports Illustrated, where Rachel Nichols joined him on that show and was discussing why the Damian Lillard trade would have worked better if he actually wanted to be in Milwaukee.
And look, the Damian Lillard deal, in hindsight, and I'm not sure they could have done it differently, it didn't work out for them. It didn't work out for them because Damian didn't want to go there. And that is instructive for what's going on right now. I think he wanted to try to make it work once he was there. You know, he was a good teammate, but he had a lot of trouble even off the court because he was in a place he didn't want to be. And that is a very difficult thing for even a player with the best intentions to turn around. And then he gets this catastrophic injury. And by the way, by dealing out Jrue Holiday the way you did, then all of a sudden you don't have any control of where Jrue Holiday goes. And where did Jrue Holiday go?
The Boston Celtics.
There you go. And you're, right there in your conference, helping, you get swept out. So I'm not saying that deal was a mistake because we have to put ourselves back in that moment. You can't judge in hindsight, but that is the thing, unfortunately, that I think is sort of the quick step that led to this departure. Because if they had done that differently, if they'd brought in someone else of that caliber who did want to be there, and who was going to be able to work with Giannis and who didn't have an unfortunate catastrophic injury, I think we'd be looking at a very different team this year with the Bucks.
So stupid. It's just so dumb on so many different levels. First of all, they didn't know he was going to have this catastrophic injury or whatever the case may be that you want to call Damian Lillard. Number one. Number two, you had to make that trade because you needed somebody to help score him for when Giannis got hurt in the playoffs. So you had to do that because Middleton wasn't able to score at that level. Holiday's never been a scorer, so you had to find somebody else. So I guess you could have traded Middleton and brought in somebody else that could play on the wing next to Holiday, next to Giannis to make it work instead of going and getting Damian Lillard. But the biggest fish that offseason at that point was Damian Lillard. And I don't remember, I'm old, I don't remember anybody nationally ripping the Bucks for that Damian Lillard deal and saying, boy, what a mistake that was. What is John Horst thinking? They're going to regret this. I don't remember that. I don't remember that happening at all. Now, there were some locally in the state of Wisconsin that were furious because they wanted to keep Jrue Holiday and keep the core together and keep on playing. But what did Lillard get him? Giannis signing another extension. Just like when they traded for Holiday, that got Giannis to sign another extension. Why? Because he's been looking out the door, trying to figure out if he wants to stay or not every time we get to this point. It's been going on for years. So you keep making moves, trying to convince him to stay. Why do you do the Miles Turner deal? Because you think, you hope, you pray that this works, and then he signs a max extension if it works the following year. It clearly didn't work. Miles Turner was a complete bust at this point, and then you're stuck. And the pieces you put around him, which I questioned in the offseason and then stupidly picked them to go to the NBA championship, played out exactly like I played out the way I was thinking when I was being super negative, which was these guys aren't that good. They're just not. And maybe they all shoot threes and all shoot at a high level like they did the year before. But the plan was we're going to shoot more threes now than we did before, and it's going to work out. You'll see. You remember we had Eric Namath from The Athletic after a preseason game. I was like, man, look at that defense. He's like, yeah, well, let's see if they can play with that physicality every night throughout a season with that level of defense. He's like, that's the question. If they can, they could be pretty good this year. And they couldn't, and they didn't, and they won't for the rest of the year either. All right, last one.
And last up here, we're going to head on over to the Winter Olympics, get out of the basketball realm, and talk about one of the coolest stories in the Winter Olympics that got just a huge update earlier today. Lindsey Vonn was making her return to the Olympics with the downhill skiing, and she had an update earlier today saying she tore her ACL last week, but she still plans on competing.
Last Friday in Crans-Montana in the last World Cup, I completely ruptured my ACL. I also have bone bruising, which is a common injury when you tear your ACL, plus meniscal damage, which we're not sure if that was pre-existing or from the crash. But we have been doing extensive therapy, been consulting with doctors, been in the gym, and today I went skiing. And considering how my knee feels, it feels stable, I feel strong. My knee is not swollen, and with the help of a knee brace, I am confident that I can compete on Sunday.
Athletes are at a completely different level than the rest of us. Just telling you right now, at a completely different level. Hey, can you feel it? The thrill of witnessing a walk-off grand slam, game-winning touchdown, buzzer-beating three at Sparky. You know the feeling. And there's only one place to experience that raw exhilaration. Potawatomi Sportsbook. And with the game coming up on Sunday, you're talking about a 2,000 square foot screen. You got tables and booths, 2 levels. Potawatomi Sportsbook, 48 beers on tap, dozen different specialty cocktails. All-day brunch. They got the annex next to the sportsbook open as well. They're selling tickets for. You can go in there and watch it too. Go online, reserve your seats ahead of time. Go to Potawatomi.com today and take advantage of that. There is not going to be a better place to watch that game on Sunday. I promise you, you're not going to find anywhere better. I don't care where you live around the state. Wausau, Duluth, Superior, Green Bay, Appleton. Nobody is going to have a better setup than they do at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Go to Potawatomi.com. Don't forget you have to be 21 years of age or older to enter the casino. All right, coming up next hour, green and gold update. More proof that Matt LaFleur staying is the right decision.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Download the Wendy's app today.
It is that time again. Hour number 3 here on a Tuesday. Sparky with you as we broadcast live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Did you miss Matt LePay earlier today? The Badgers' voice, whether it's basketball or football or whatever. Badgers basketball playing well the last 3 weeks or so. Well, Matt LePay joined Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh this morning. If you missed it, text the keyword Badgers to the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line 414-677-1250 and have it sent right to your phone. That's the keyword Badgers, the Talk and Text line, to hear the Matt LePay interview from earlier this morning. Again, 414-677-1250. Coming up this hour, things that we missed, brought to you by the Milwaukee Admirals. Come up at 4:40. Advice for Doc Rivers, what would it be? That is coming up at 4:20. But first, it's 4 o'clock, which means we always go here.
It's time for your green and gold update on Wisconsin Sports Daily, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer.
All right, time to get to our green and gold update. Brian Gutekunst talks tomorrow to the media at 12:30. So I'm sure we'll have clips to play back tomorrow during this segment of the show, and maybe earlier, depending on what Goody has to say to everybody involved. And it says it's just Gutekunst. I'm kind of disappointed, for being honest. A little disappointed.
You want LaFleur too?
I want LaFleur and I want Gannon. I want all of them. Like, why don't you just put one after another and just say, hey, 20 minutes for Goody, which I'm sure he'd be ecstatic about. He's not stuck there forever. LaFleur you get 20 with LaFleur and you get 20 with Gannon. And take up an hour of time. All three get to talk, and these beat writers can stretch that out over like 2 or 3 weeks with different quotes into different stories. And Packer fans get to hear from these guys because Matt LaFleur, well, I mean, Goody probably has some say in this too, even though LaFleur reports to Ed Policy and not Goody. But the idea of keeping Bisaccia still after what we've watched the last 2 years, the idea of keeping Luke Butkus after what that offensive line looked like, the idea of keeping Adam Stanovich, who is the former offensive line coach, who we were told was in those offensive line meetings helping out Luke Butkus as well, to keep all of those guys here on this coaching staff, I shouldn't say I'm amazed, but it's going to get Matt fired. Like, the loyalty that he is showing to these dudes, if this doesn't work out in 2 years, it's going to be his fault.
I think so. And I think the Packers are going to be pretty quick to blame it on him as well in that situation. I think I want to hear from Ed Policy too. Get Ed Policy up on there. All 4 of those guys. Russ Ball, I don't really care about hearing from. That's fine. But everybody else that got a new contract or has been signed by this team, I want to hear from. Yeah.
Right. I'd like to as well. So Goody talks tomorrow, so we'll see what that's all about. I got something here I came across. I don't know if y'all saw it or not. Ari Myrov, who's with 33rd team and all of that, has an updated tracker on offensive coordinator and the different offensive coordinators that are taking new jobs with different teams from where they were last year. And I looked, and there are still 7 job openings at offensive coordinator in the National Football League. So if you're optimistic as a Packers fan, there's still hope that Adam Stanovich gets a job somewhere. And then Matt LaFleur would be, forced to go bring in a different OC if that has to be. Quarterbacks coach, we're still waiting on that. They still haven't decided on that. Connor Singer, who played locally in the Milwaukee area at Pius High School and was coaching with the Arizona Cardinals, he interviewed for the quarterback's coaching job for the Packers. And now I saw the report today that he's interviewing for the offensive coordinator position under Ben Johnson with the Chicago Bears. So Connor Singer, again, Charlie and I were talking about this before the show. If it's me, I'd much rather be the OC for the Bears than the quarterback coach for the Packers. I'm going to learn a ton from Ben Johnson. Even though I'm not going to get to call plays, there's a lot to pick up there. Not saying you can't pick up stuff from Matt LaFleur, but to be an OC for, like, say, 2 or 3 years, and then if the Bears actually do something and win something, then you're going to get your pick of where you want to go be a head coach. And he's still a relatively young dude. That makes the most sense if he were offered both jobs, Charlie.
For sure. I think there's other systems here that still have openings. You'll get some of these other teams. So the Cardinals, they signed Mike LaFleur, brother of Matt LaFleur, Elmhurst University alumni, quarterback there. That was pretty cool.
Did he lose as much as you when he was there?
No, he actually won a ton. The team in the school got a bunch of sanctions in between like that point, and then like when I played, so there's a big reason why they fell off.
And then they ended up in all kinds of trouble.
No, they didn't pay
happened?
me at all.
No.
I didn't get paid at all. I was at the point where they were very against that.
Very against the whole paying thing.
But he's going to be in there, and I think he's going to want to call plays for that team. I think that's part of the reason he took that job is because he's going to get that opportunity now moving away from Sean McVay. So that's an opportunity. You could go in and be an offensive coordinator without that play calling duty and get some kind of experience from that same tree. The Rams now are looking for an offensive coordinator. I think you go into the Raiders system where Clint Kubiak is expected to be named the head coach after the Super Bowl. And you could get play calling experience, or not play calling experience in that system, but just under a good offensive mind.
Yeah,
There's a lot of good situations.
Right now, as we said, the Jets, Cardinals, Raiders, Steelers, Bears, Rams, Seahawks all still have OC positions open. But there have already been 14 teams naming new offensive coordinators. The latest, Matt Nagy to the Giants and John Harbaugh. I mean, that's just a huge mistake. I don't know what you're doing, John Harbaugh.
What's the point of that?
God bless you, but I don't understand it whatsoever. So Nagy goes to the Giants. So 14 new guys in place with still 7 to go. And if you look at the Green Bay Packers with Matt LaFleur, yes, Adam Stenavich is offensive coordinator in title. Does he help with game planning? Yeah, I think he does help with game planning and stuff like that. So if you're the Green Bay Packers, you feel pretty good, I think, if you're Matt LaFleur, because your coaching staff outside of Mannion on offense is coming back intact, right? The players coming back, know the system you're running, know the adjustments that you want to make in the offseason. You talk to them on exit interviews about stuff you wanted to do differently and so forth going into the offseason. Now you just need health to put yourself in that position to go compete for a Super Bowl. I think teams that kept their OC from last year going into next season are at a decided advantage. What do you think? Nikolai Law talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. And again, this is another reason of why keeping Matt LaFleur probably made some sense here.
I think so. And that's been the overall reason I think most people have argued for the Packers to keep Matt LaFleur is the fact that then you don't have to change an entire offensive system like all these other teams have. I would say on the other side of things, though, what you've seen in the first immediate year of a lot of teams switching their offensive systems is that it's really hard for a lot of other defenses to adjust to that until about halfway through a season. So a lot of these teams start off hot. I think if you're the Green Bay Packers, you want to be the team that's starting off hot. So if there's a lot of teams around you that could be changing scheme, could be doing a lot of different things while you're trying to get a defense that you also are changing scheme in with players that are getting healthier and new players coming into a system, I think you kind of fall to a disadvantage to some of these teams that have offenses that they just want to test stuff out on.
Right. And that's, see, I think it's difficult, right? Because I think most of us were on the idea of, man, Mike McDaniel would be great. Having McDaniel in here from the Dolphins would be great to bring in new, fresh ideas, some new blood to those offensive game planning meetings and put LaFleur maybe in a different headspace at that point, right? That's what I was thinking at that point.
Right.
But you look at some of these guys, Brian Dable, former head coach to the Titans, that would have provided a different outlook. Mike McDaniel to the Chargers, as we talked about. Eric Bieniemy, apparently not the easiest guy to work with, but he goes back to Kansas City. So that obviously makes all the sense in the world. Better than Matt Nagy, who moves on. Drew Petzing, they've interviewed every other Cardinals person, but they didn't interview him. He goes to the Lions. I think that's a horrible mistake by Dan Campbell. We'll see how it plays out. Bobby Slug obviously was with the Texans for a minute. I'm not the biggest fan of him. He goes to the Dolphins. Tommy Rees, the former Notre Dame quarterback who's with Stefanski in Cleveland, follows him to Atlanta. Zach Robinson, who was in Atlanta, a former Rams guy to McVay, he's now in Tampa Bay at this point. Pete Carmichael, who's with the Saints forever, and Sean Payton, he goes to Buffalo. Declan Doyle, who's this young, upcoming guy that everybody loves that thinks is the next Matt Johnson, he takes the job with the Ravens to be OC. Mannion to the Eagles. Again, you could have promoted Mannion to OC and got a different quarterback coach.
You could have, but again, I think Sean Mannion, he goes to the Eagles because he gets to call plays with the Eagles, or is at least going to get an opportunity to maybe call plays with the way Sirianni flips back and forth with when he wants to call plays or when he doesn't. With the Packers, I don't think you have that shot. I don't think unless Matt LaFleur gets told that you're not calling plays anymore by somebody higher up than him, he's going to continue to call plays. I don't think anybody will tell him that.
Absolutely not. But from a game planning perspective and from having a guy that was the head coach in fourth down situations late in games, in time clock management late in games, Bisaccia could be a very nice guy. Bisaccia was an interim head coach for a cup of coffee with the Raiders. His players bought in. They rallied around him. A leader of men, they said when he came here. That very well may be true. But this clock mismanagement and everything else that's happened the last couple of years, there has to be a different voice than the one that you've had. And I don't believe that the voice in Matt LaFleur's ear, or the guy that he consults with, is on the defensive side of the football where they made all the changes. So more than likely, the decision-making that he's made over the last several years is going to continue to be equally as crappy as it's been because you haven't changed anything.
If you have to preface any statement with, well, he might be a really nice guy, that usually means what's coming after it is not going to be good, and that guy should probably be fired in any situation. If you have to start with that, that's the compliment you can give him. Not has to do with his coaching ability or anything like that. And then, yeah, I think with Jonathan Gannon, it's a hire to come in and kind of give Matt LaFleur a different viewpoint, maybe potentially. At the same time, it kind of feels like so far the way they've gone about this, the way that he's hired his staff, is it's going to be two different teams. Is you're going to have Matt LaFleur on the offense doing his own thing, and just Jonathan Gannon can take over the defense because he didn't want to have a Jeff Hafley maybe where he felt like he had to take control over a defense if it wasn't going right. He wants somebody to come in and take that over. I think that may not be the best idea when you need new voices in your ear.
I totally agree with you on that. Ziggy uses the Nicolay Law text line, as you can as well, 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. I agree with all the changes happening and teams installing new systems. The advantage is with the teams that have tenured coaches at this point. That's Ziggy texting in. 21 teams is a lot, man. You're only talking about, what, 11 teams? There's 32 teams in the league. You're only talking about 11 teams that are going in with the same system in place that they used the last year, which means 21 teams and rosters all are going through some type of change going into OTAs here in April and May, and then June, the mandatory camp, and then going into training camp, installing brand new offenses. Meanwhile, the Packers are going into OTA and the mandatory camp in June, knowing what they're running and adding wrinkles to differing stuff up from what it was last year. You're not starting from scratch with this entire offense and with Jordan Love. It also benefits the quarterback because he doesn't have to learn a new offense. If you think about it, now this doesn't apply to Dabble in Buffalo because he was there, so Josh Allen knows the offense. But for the most part, some of these other guys, you're going to have to learn a completely new offense than what you've had before.
But a lot of these other guys, I think you look at the teams that are getting these new offensive coordinators, the Titans getting Brian Daboll, that's a situation where I think it's a young quarterback that is moldable. Yep. The Chargers and Justin Herbert, he's a little bit more experienced now, but he hasn't really had an offense that's built for him at this point. Mike McDaniel can come in and do something with that. He's a little bit more moldable. A lot of these teams have younger quarterbacks or are going to have opportunities to have younger quarterbacks this season. I think that's a little easier to work with as a new offensive coordinator trying to install a system.
Right, I said Daboll in Buffalo, right? He's with Titans and solid, but Bieniemy goes back to Mahomes. That is a benefit to Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, obviously, at that point. John and Franklin, you're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. What's going on, John?
Hey, Spark. Just weighing in. I haven't called in for a few days here. I just got to be honest, Sparky. I don't like the off season for the Packers so far, and I'm okay with them. I understand the LaFleur thing. Okay, that notwithstanding. But how Bisaccia still has a job, and my contemporaries, the people around me, the only reason they tell me Bisaccia has a job is because they're paying him so much money. And if that's the case, I don't understand what we realistically go into the coming season, how we think this team's going to be better, Sparky, so far with the path that they're on.
I don't know. I have no idea other than health, right? If they're healthy, they should be a Super Bowl type team. And that was my argument this year in the playoffs. If they're healthy, they probably represent the NFC in the Super Bowl coming up this week. And thanks for the call. I'm sorry. There's no way the Bears are winning that game if Tucker Kraft is playing and Micah Parsons is playing and Devontae Wyatt is playing and Zach Tom is playing. Like, if those guys are playing, that game was close as it was. There's no chance of rolling with the Packers if that team is healthy. And you could say the same thing with the Niners with all their injuries, right? The Niners would have been far more formidable in the NFC playoffs had they been healthy, but they also were battling injuries as well, especially as far as Bisaccia goes. I just Googled Bisaccia contract. And it says he signed a 1-year contract extension in January of 25, extending his deal through the 26th season. So based on that, it is through one more season, and then that's it. Then another one says reports indicate he was one of the highest paid special teams coordinators in the NFL upon his hiring, with an estimated annual salary around $2 million. So he definitely is getting paid quite a bit of money. But the Packers have an unbelievable amount of money in their slush fund. They are not going to blink an eye of getting rid of somebody at $2 million a year or $1 million a year or whatever as a coach. Immediately, see ya. I don't care about $2 million if I'm the Packers. The Brewers, I may care. The Packers, no chance. It will not stop Matt LaFleur or Brian Gutekunst or Ed Policy from getting rid of somebody. If they wanted to get rid of Bisaccia to go bring in somebody else and pay that person relatively the same amount of money and have to pay Bisaccia one more year, I think they do it. I mean, if they're keeping him because of that, well, then that's just beyond moronic.
Yeah, and frankly, I'd rather have a young guy that's willing to take chances in that position, willing to get fired in that position, and nothing left to lose, and a cheaper salary just to see if you can get something else going, because right now it is a stale unit that has the same problems year in, year out.
Absolutely is. All right, take a quick time out. We tell you about Wendy's new biggie deals. Wendy's really outdid themselves with the new biggie deals, $4, $6, and $8. The new biggie deals are bigger and biggier than ever. If you're feeling something snacky, you can get the $4 Biggie Bites. Feeling something medium, get yourself a $6 Biggie Bag with Junior Bacon Cheeseburger. If you want to go full Biggie, you can get the $8 Biggie Bundle with your choice of 2 sandwiches, a small soft drink, and a Junior Fry. The choice is yours for a pretty biggie deal. It's got to be Wendy's. Coming up next, I'm going to let you play the role of family member, best friend, ally to Doc Rivers. Yeah, you get to play all those roles. Coming up next. Everybody seemingly wants Doc Rivers fired, and I understand why. But I have a challenge for you. If you were to give Doc Rivers advice, if he came to you and said, I'll use JB in the 920, JB, hey, man, it's been a struggle, man. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. I need some advice. You got anything? What would you tell him? What would you tell him? Nicolay Law Talk and text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250 on the socials at WI Sports Radio. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here, Charlie Usen over there. Thanks for listening. Along the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, the game, 93.9 The Game in Wausau, the Flamethrower, WNFL in Green Bay and Appleton, 99.7 FM, 710 The Game in the Duluth Superior area, and in Milwaukee on The Fan, 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, The Fan. So appreciate y'all listening and hanging out with us. Follow us, obviously, on social media at WI Sports Radio. We'll get to things Sparky missed, brought to you by the Milwaukee Admirals, coming up in the next segment before we get to 5 o'clock, and then it's Wisconsin Sports wrap-up with the big old hunk of love, Tommy Wirtz. If we were to design a T-shirt for Tommy Wirtz, I know he wants a T-shirt that says, send him home, like he says on the leadoff show to end his show. I know that's what he wants, but like, could we come up with a fun design of a shirt that says the big old hunk of love?
Oh, I think we could. Okay. So like on the pocket, a little heart that just says the hunk of love. And maybe on the back, Tommy has like Cupid. And then we could do that. Yeah. Like dressed up as Cupid. I do think Tommy would be down for that.
Well, I don't know. But the question becomes how many
we could
people
do like a whole photo shoot and everything.
Right. But how many people would actually wear it?
I'd wear that. I'd wear the hell out of that.
Right.
Man.
But the question is like, that's the thing that everybody forgets is, okay, you could design a T-shirt to give away when we're out, for the radio station or whatever. But how many people are actually going to wear it? Like our Euchre Magic T-shirts that we had during the Brewers season for the postseason run were amazing, and everybody wanted one. People were asking if they could buy them and everything else. Like that was a home run shirt for sure. And that's what you're trying to do.
I think it just has to be unique. I think that's the biggest thing. And I think, if we made a Tommy Cupid Hunk of Love shirt, it would be unique.
Yeah, man, you're right about that. I'm sure we're going to get some unique responses to this next question we're going to ask. You were a family member or a friend of, or maybe somebody else in the coaching industry, and Doc Rivers came to you, Bucs head coach, and said, hey, man, I'm lost. Like, I don't know what to do. We can't win games. My team's pretty much like giving up by the end of the games. We're just getting blown out night after night. I got all this Giannis stuff going on. Doc said the other day, the happiest day of the year is going to be when the trade deadline passes, regardless of what happens, just to put all of this to bed at that point. What advice would you give Doc Rivers if he asked you? What advice would you give Doc Rivers? Nicolay Law Talk and Text Line, 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Streaming live again on X and on YouTube at WI Sports Radio. From the 262, Doc, you got to retire, my dude. Go join Austin and do a father-son show. Would be tons of fun. You don't need the Bucs money, from the 262. So I figured that this was going to be how it might go. Where people are going to tell him to quit. People are going to tell him to retire. And obviously, that is people that don't care about Doc, that are disinterested fans, and so forth. But the reality of the situation is that Doc Rivers couldn't possibly be having any fun this season. I just don't see how he is having fun coaching this basketball team. I would have to imagine if you pull Doc Rivers aside and said, give me the 3 longest seasons of your coaching career, I would have to think that this Buck season is probably in his top 3 longest seasons.
Oh, the longest. I think it's easily the
longest.
Yeah.
They had a lot of injuries with the Clippers when he was there.
This was starting before this season even started. All the Giannis stuff, all the drama about will he, won't he come back to this team, the fact that your roster just wasn't built up to par with a lot of people. It was a roster you felt like was good enough, but not great. And I think this is a situation where Doc Rivers looks at it and goes, I'm in for a long one no matter what happens.
I really think I would go to Doc and be like, Doc, this is the deal, my man. We need you to help us analyze and evaluate every player that we have left on this roster after the trade deadline. That's the deal. Now, I can't tell you who's going to be left. Miles Turner may be gone. Mike Porter may be gone. This roster may be way worse than what it is at the end of the day. But the thing I would tell Doc is, It doesn't matter if you win or lose at this point. It just doesn't. The only thing that matters from an outsider perspective is, does this team play hard to the end? You have to figure out how to get this team to buy in, to give you that high effort night in and night out. Even if you lose every game, even if you don't win another game, Doc, you have to figure out how to get them to give you everything they got on the way out here. How do you get them motivated? Now, I don't know if I have a solution to that question of how do you get motivated. And I'm sure ownership would not like my idea. But my idea would be, Doc, you need to get all these guys together. Maybe outside of the facility somewhere. I don't know. And go, guys, they're blowing this thing up. They're blowing it up. Most of you will not be on this roster next year. And those of you that are probably going to be for a very long season next year with a bunch of new faces around you. So if you want to go somewhere else and you don't want to be a part of what's about to happen here in Milwaukee for the next couple of years, you have to play hard and show other NBA teams that's watching this that you're worthy of being on a winning basketball team next year, that you're worthy of trading for in the offseason because you're a true professional and played hard no matter how bad it got in Milwaukee. If you want out, that's what you're going to have to do. Because if you don't, GMs, owners around the league are going, that dude quit, that dude quit, that dude quit, that dude quit. And me, I'll be retired in the TV booth. It ain't going to matter to me one way or the other, but it's going to screw each and every one of you on this team from a potential trade to somewhere else, or you going to sign a free agent contract if you're a free agent or restricted free agent, and they're going to remember that, and you're not going to get fair value. And this is going to sink you in the short term and potentially in the long term as well if you don't give me max effort going forward. That is what I would tell Doc. You've got to figure this out. How do they give max effort? How do you get them not to quit? People can bang on you for your coaching X's and O's. People can bang on you for who's playing what minutes and who should be playing more minutes. Whatever. Those guys, those girls don't coach in the NBA. So with all due respect to you, Doc, you shouldn't care about what they say. You, on the other hand, are going to be held responsible for the effort. And you've got to figure out how to light a fire under their fanny. And you look at the guys that were great. Vince Lombardi knew how to do that. Bill Parcells knew how to do that. Bobby Knight, whether you like him or don't like him, and whether you agree with his ways of doing it or not, knew how to do that. There are some guys that always get it. It's individual motivation. Phil Jackson won those championships because he knew how to motivate guys that needed motivation by having them read a dumb book or whatever the case may be. He figured it out. Doc, you've been in this league forever and a day. Player and coach. You have got to have some memories or some thoughts about guys that coached you that got you to play through stuff or got you to play at a higher level. Give more effort than you thought you were even capable of giving. Go back in your memory bank. Find those situations and scenarios and apply it to your basketball team. That's what I need out of Doc Rivers for the remainder of this season.
Q makes a good point in the YouTube chat, the dugout chat. I just wanted to point it out. He says Doc's longest year was with Donald Sterling. This is nothing compared to that. Yeah.
Yes, Donald Sterling being forced to sell the team and all of that. Yeah, you are absolutely right. But I said top three. I didn't say top, but you are absolutely right about that. David in Brookfield, you're next on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line. What's going on, David?
Appreciate you taking my call, Sparky.
Sure.
Huge fan.
Thanks.
I guess if I found myself as Doc Rivers' friend or confidant, probably what I'd say is, first of all, I don't pretend to be a coach, can't empathize with how you're dealing with the team, but at the end of the day, we got to control the controllables. And you know what? Attitude reflects leadership, Doc. A significant portion of language and attitude is conveyed through your body, and what you're saying to the media, how you're physically portraying it. You can control your attitude. It's what we've got at the end of the day, man. And so to me, as a fan, and now as Doc's confident, I'm saying that's within his control. Attitude reflects leadership. I got to imagine some of that has rubbed off onto the team to some degree. I'll hang up and listen to your response.
Yep, thanks for the call. See, the bad part about all of this is that the guy that should be the leader and everything else is sidetracked by trying to get out of here. That's the bad part about all of this. The guy that should be the leader, that should be pulling these guys along, that should be doing whatever he can to keep these guys motivated, instead is questioning effort in the post-game presser and doing all this other stuff and continuing to let Shams Charania be fueled by all this crap and just not ending it. I thought he ended it by saying he was never going to ask to be traded, but clearly his agents do what they want to do with Charania one way or the other. And clearly all the teams around the NBA know the situation. That really hurts Doc. When Doc essentially is on an island and doesn't have that guy. When you're with the Boston Celtics and you win a championship, he had KG, he had Ray, he had Paul Pierce.
He had the loudest team possible.
Do you want to know who the guy was that made that go? Who pulled them all together and got them going? Rajon Rondo, who is sitting on that bench. Rondo was his guy. He was a rookie. He was the guy. Maturity level beyond eons, smarter than you know what, and he was the leader. He was the one that got all these guys on the same page, regardless if they agreed, disagreed about whatever. Rondo was that guy. It doesn't appear you have that guy. So as coach, you got to go try and be that guy at this point. Doug in Racine, you're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Doug, it was good seeing you over there at Tim Allen's band deal at Swagger's on last week on Friday.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you. I introduced myself to Tim too, so
Nice.
that was cool.
Good.
Listened to the band for a little while and lost some money on the machine and had some fun. So
that was your
a good
fault.
time.
You sat by the machines. I never sit by the machines. That's too much of a tease for me to say no to. I can't do that.
I think everybody said it all, lack of motivation, this and that, Doc Rivers. I'm just waiting to see what happens this week, if he's gone or if he's not gone. I don't know. Somebody said that the summer would be better time to get more. I don't know how that works, but I'm kind of ready to be done with this and see what happens and move forward.
I think a lot of people are ready to be done with this, Doug. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. I got a lot of people over here on the Nicolay Law Talk and text line as well. And this is a lot of what you thought you were going to get really at the end of the day when you start thinking about what this team is going to look like, right? So this is from Dave in Cudahy. And it's interesting because Dave says, find a non-Giannis vocal leader to get the team more engaged and motivated. They need someone to be scrappy like PJ Tucker used to be. Yeah, that works. But you don't have that guy. I mean, you'd think Bobby Portis would be that guy that could get him going and so forth. But it doesn't appear that Bobby Portis is that guy. It doesn't appear Miles Turner is that guy either. So that's what really has Doc Rivers in a tough situation right now as far as trying to keep this team motivated no matter how bad they are. Lewis, north side of Milwaukee, you're next. So what's going on, Lewis?
Spark. My advice, Doc, would be to hang it up, man. You have to call it quits now. If Giannis stays after the trade deadline, what Doc should do is go to that front office and say, look here, I'm done. I'm going to promote one of these young assistants. Let them give, a half a season of head coaching experience and give them a shot. He knows he's not going to be back next year. We all know Doc's not going to be back.
I think he retires. I don't think he even gets fired. I think he retires.
So why not do the honorable thing and put one on the tee for one of your staff, man. Like you
Rondo.
can tell Giannis doesn't want to be. Doc doesn't want to be here either. You know what I'm saying? It's written all over his face, man. You can see it during the game. You can see it during timeouts. Like, I'm surprised, the media hasn't picked up on that aspect. Like, he should just go in and hand in the key card, man, and say, I'm done.
And that's the thing. I think he will retire once they move Giannis and this becomes a full-fledged rebuild. I don't think he'll want to be here at that point. They won't have to fire him. He'll just retire. Thanks for the call, Lewis. Now, if they do all of this, and they go to Doc, they're like, hey, man, you want to coach this team, may win 10 games? Yep, I'm in. Then you may have to fire him. But I don't think he'll get to that point. I just don't. Do you know what I think could happen? John Horst out, Doc Rivers to the GM role. I think that very well potentially could happen. And then Doc lets Rondo run the team as the head coach. Doc becomes the GM, and out goes John Horst.
I think that could be interesting. Again, a lot of people respect Rondo across the league, not just in this Bucks office.
All the old heads do. We know that.
I mean, you've talked about crazier things happening, having coaches come from the booth, having
Tom
other
Green.
young players. Yeah, you could have other options here. Rajon Rondo being the head coach isn't that crazy compared to some of those.
No, I agree with you. I don't think it's that crazy either. All right, take a quick time out. Come back. Things Sparky missed. Brought to you by the Milwaukee Admirals. Looking forward to that coming up next. And Matt LaFleur talked to the media today in Arizona at his brother's press
All
conference.
these Wisconsin people talking at other press conferences.
So we'll hear what he has to say. That's straight ahead. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Hope y'all are doing well today. Potawatomi Sportsbook, that's where you're going to want to be for the game coming up on Sunday. Plus, they have the Annex Open. That'll be a ticketed event, too. All you have to do is go to potawatomi.com to take advantage of those deals and be in the house to watch that game. You're not going to want to be anywhere else. Nobody else is a 2,000-square-foot TV that can show 30 things at one time. The sound system in there, it's 2 levels, plenty of seating and seats available. All you have to do is have a nominal payment that goes towards your food and beverage costs. And I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but let's say it's $100. You're going to spend that being there for 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever the case may be, watching the game. So it all works itself out at the end of the day. Or you can buy tickets, go hang out in the Annex and watch the game in there. Check them out today. Again, Potawatomi.com. Potawatomi.com. Must be 21 years of age or older to enter the casino. And it's a pretty cool deal. Yingling is sponsoring the event inside the Annex, so you guys will have a lot of fun for the game coming up on Sunday. With that being said, let's go to this.
What story did Sparky miss talking about today on Wisconsin Sports Daily? Don't you worry. Sparky's got you covered now. Don't miss Milwaukee Admirals hockey this season. Don't just buy tickets. Invest in memories at MilwaukeeAdmirals.com.
Let's get to some of what we missed on today's show. So you obviously all heard about James Harden with the Clippers asking for a trade. Even though the Clippers have the best record since Christmas, he wants to get out because his contract next year is for, I want to say, $42 million, but only like 12 or 13 of that is guaranteed. So I'm guessing what he's trying to do is either get that fully guaranteed or his agent wants to get him somewhere where he can get a brand new contract long-term and lock him in. Again, this is completely James Harden MO from team to team of how he works, regardless of how good your basketball team is. I found this interesting. Kawhi Leonard, who actually has been healthy, talks about this James Harden trade request.
Well, you guys were playing. There were some reports that came out about the possibility of James potentially being traded before the deadline. Is that something that comes as a surprise to you, or had you heard that that could be a possibility?
Yeah, of course. That's a surprise. I was playing, so yeah, surprise.
What are your thoughts hearing that?
I have no comment on it. I respect his decision or whoever decision it is.
Stop. I respect his decision or whoever's decision that it is. Folks, there you go. There you go. That's all you need to know. And I'm pretty sure you could say the exact same thing for Giannis at this point, where the agent comes to you and says, hey, man, look, we can make a lot more money. I can get you in a better situation, all this added money for you and your family and all this other stuff. And we'll force a team to surround you with stars by making this deal. We'll sign this contract extension, all of that. And you are going to be just thanking me and hugging me that I'm the greatest agent in the whole wide world. Just trust me and let me get you out of Milwaukee like I've been trying to do for the last couple of years and you wouldn't let me. That's why when Kawhi Leonard says his decision or whoever's it is, he's talking about Harden's agent. It may not even be Harden that wants to get out, but his agent is telling him, trust me, I'm going to make you a whole bunch more money and get you into a different situation. And the players want to make more money, obviously. And in Giannis's case, I'm sure wants to be in a situation where it's a lot easier to get yourself back to a championship versus waiting for a rebuild at this point.
Yeah, and I would say that when you look at the Los Angeles Clippers, yes, they're one of the hottest teams in the past couple of weeks, but in their last 15 games, they're 2-4 against play-in teams. All the other games are against teams that are out of the playoffs that they were able to beat up on because they're just a more veteran squad that is able to get going when their stars are on the court and healthy, which they're almost never on the court and healthy. Like you said, Kawhi Leonard being there, not being an all-star, that's a whole nother bit of drama that's happening right now with the Los Angeles Clippers. I think this is a situation from James Harden's perspective. Yes, your agents may be coming and telling you stuff like this, but you yourself, and I know he said this at the last 3 stops that he's been at, said this is where you want to kind of finish your career. This is where you wanted to be. You wanted to be in LA, that you're with your friends and Kawhi Leonard. They've put a team around you. Steve Ballmer is an owner that constantly wants to try to make things happen for his team in order to give them a chance. Everything is right for you in this situation. I get it. Your contract's not guaranteed. yeah, you're still probably going to get a good chunk of that money. Let's be completely honest. If you can stay on the court and you can stay healthy, you're going to get that money. It's only if you feel like you're at this point in your career where it's getting towards the end and you don't think you can stay healthy, then at that point, just find other avenues, man. You can make money elsewhere.
It is going to be fun to see how this all goes, because there was talk immediately that the Clippers and the Cavaliers were in talks involving Darius Garland and Harden going to Cleveland. Cleveland may blow that thing up and rebuild with a new core. They may have already run out of patience that those young guys that they assembled aren't going to work. And they must have the belief, I would think, that Donovan Mitchell is not wanting to stay in Cleveland long term, and they're trying to get a star in place for guys that want to play with somebody else.
Which is crazy to think he wouldn't want to be in Cleveland. They've given, again, another guy everything that he needs to kind of survive here. They're 30-21 right now. I know they're not first, but they're right there in second. I think this is a team that if they make a decision like this is basically the Bucks firing Adrian Griffin at that point in the season, where they were a good team that was finding ways to succeed. And now you're going to make that big of a shift. There must be deeper issues going on.
Matt LaFleur was at his brother Mike LaFleur's press conference today, naming him the new head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. And he was asked if you ever thought both of them could be head coaches in the NFL at the same time.
I'd say you're fully. It's just, it is pretty surreal. I mean, just humble beginnings. My dad at Central Michigan. I walked on at Western Michigan and played at D2 ball. Mike played at Elmhurst College, D3 ball. And I think we have a really great appreciation for just guys that are essentially playing for the love of the game. And I think that is kind of in our core and who we are. And then we've been so fortunate to be around so many great people. And he mentioned a lot of those guys. I mean, I say it all the time. I don't think I'm standing here today I hadn't developed a relationship with Robert Saleh when we were cutting our teeth at Central Michigan University as GAs, living in just some, not the best situation, but those are great memories. That's almost when life was a hell of a lot easier, but just the relationships that were built along the way, and then just being around so many great football minds, from the Shanahans to McVays to Dan Quinn. It's been a great journey.
Thing about that, there are not many that you can go around and name of guys that were brothers. I mean, Jim and John Harbaugh, obviously, you got two
kind of crazy at the same time,
brother coaching pairs at the same time. But a very cool deal for the LaFleur family and for the mom and the dad and all of that that goes along with it. So good stuff there. Also, I want to get in here before we run out of time. The Brewers put out their theme night earlier today for the upcoming season. And just like when the Milwaukee Admirals do it, the promotions are always fun. You always get excited to see what the Milwaukee Brewers have and what nights you want to go to. So here are some of the theme nights that are coming up. There's a Hello Kitty night. There is a Paw Patrol day as well. There's a boy band night. What is Naruto?
It's like an anime. Yeah. So one that's really popular.
Yeah. So there's a Naruto night.
Mm-hmm. They gave out like a jersey with him on it. It was kind of cool. So I don't even like the show, but I'd get it.
Really?
For fun.
Yeah. The new boy band night taps in the ongoing wave of pop nostalgia, bringing the excitement, harmonies, and personality-packed flair that fans know and love. Now, again, I'm not in charge of this. Rick Schlesinger, a hell of a lot more smarter than me. I would have had some boy band playing, get new kids to play or something like that. That would have been fun after the game.
There's
right?
like more popular boy bands nowadays. But
you're trying to get the old people with the money.
Yeah, I guess.
All these other things are for the kids. Do something for the parents. That'll do it. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Enjoy your night, Wisconsin. Toodles.